Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Evolution from Mushrooms. Chapter 51. At night, Chen Mo's weapon was ready, but he thought about it and didn't use it. These people are all in the car, especially the chariot, which is very well sealed. Once the filter is opened, the spore powder may not be able to float in for a whole day. If it can't be wiped out completely, it will find an abnormality for the opponent instead. And the other side is also calling for support. Chen Mo immediately felt that it was a major mistake not to call the chariot over. If there were chariots, they would be able to knock down these people and drag the target away at dawn. Fortunately, Chen Mo has a backup plan. It was not until dawn that all the soldiers got out of the car. Preparing to search for traces, the giant python was seriously injured. We must catch that giant python along the blood trail. There is little blood. However, the traces of being crushed by the giant python are very obvious. The snake appears to be in a panic, a soldier said. Indeed, but the blood stains are a little less. We have to pay attention, and I'll leave it to Brother Lu later. The captain smiled back. Last night, it was really thanks to this kid. He couldn't hold back his face before, but now he has completely let go. The opponent has strength and is a bull. It's perfectly fine to call a brother. Captain, don't worry, everything is on me. The soldier surnamed Lu patted his chest and said confidently. His reaction speed is faster than ordinary people. Stronger. If the boa constrictor wanted to sneak attack, it had to pass his level first. There are a lot of mushrooms growing around here. Some soldiers noticed again that there were clumps of mushrooms on the ground. It may be that the weather has been relatively humid these days, and the mushrooms have grown tremendously, or they may have mutated. Be careful not to step on the mushrooms. The captain wanted to continue sampling, but at a glance, there are 5 or 6 kinds of mushrooms. The sampling is so troublesome. Think about it or forget it. I already collected one yesterday, and it can be used as a representative. Chen Mo watched the group of people follow the trails all the way deep into the forest. He began to manipulate the giant python into action. After a night of trying, Chen Mo has controlled the giant python through hallucinogens and telepathy. In the forest, the towering trees could not see the sun, and the soldiers were extremely vigilant. Suddenly, a black shadow flashed past. Da da da. The soldiers immediately opened fire. A soldier carrying a bazooka also put the bazooka on his shoulder and removed the safety cover at the same time. Prepare. The captain sneered. This time he was prepared. If the other party dared to come over, it would definitely kill him. Run away. However, the sound of the snake's skin rubbing against the ground became farther and farther away. There is still some blood. The other party can't run far. A soldier checked the place where the giant python was entrenched just now, and said excitedly. Keep in battle formation. Chase. The captain ordered immediately. Everyone began to follow the traces of the giant python's crushing, all the way forward. The psyker also raised the shotgun in his hand. This uses a single warhead. Bullets specially designed to attack elephants. The weapons specially prepared for this operation, one shot, is enough for an individual weapon to knock down an elephant. The recoil is so powerful that only one bullet can be fired at a time. At the same time, the rest of the soldiers also hung grenade launchers under their guns. After all, the heavy machine gun did not leave this monster yesterday, so today it will be replaced with a more powerful one. See if that monster can hold up. But today this monster was obviously scared of being beaten, and turned around and ran away when it heard their movement. This makes everyone not succeed once. The 2 grenades that were fired in a hurry were all emptied. The opponent heard the terrifying explosion and ran even faster. But fortunately, the other party seemed to have lost too much blood, and he couldn't run anymore. There is no way to hide the tracks. The soldiers followed the traces, and soon caught up again. Just chasing, and then, everyone chased to a strange mushroom field. A large piece of mushrooms grew on the ground. A long trace is the trace of the giant python rushing through the mushroom forest. Without even thinking about it, everyone rushed in. Brothers in the back, hurry up. We will catch up with the python soon, bring some freezers. The captain shouted into the satellite phone. The support troops are already on the way, and they happen to be here to carry the big snake together. Slow down, we still have hope to catch this snake alive. At this moment, the captain became a little excited. After all, after chasing here, everyone has already noticed that this big snake is about to die. What they have to do is to slowly drive each other to exhaustion. Everyone walked out of the mushroom forest safely. Keep catching up. But the more you run, the more it feels wrong. In front of my eyes, everything is a little blurred. Some soldiers even had hallucinations, and directly took out their weapons, . In fact, there is nothing there. Calm down. No monsters. Shouted the captain. The psyker on the side is the calmest. Of course, this is only on the surface. In fact, Chen Mo is using telepathy, trying to control the other party. But it's obviously difficult. I just didn't bother to do it. The hallucinogenic spores released slowly for a long time, all the way to the present. The soldiers are also crazy exercise, it is already working. Cooperating with telepathy to interfere with everyone. Soon, the men were attacking targets that didn't exist. Slowly, fear began to spread, and one person suddenly started to retreat, and everyone followed. When the support team arrived, the team was already in chaos. Close to the brink of collapse. Count the number of people, one less. Who told you to retreat? Check out the combat recorder. The captain was furious, his face extremely ugly. If this fool hadn't retreated suddenly, the battle formation wouldn't be scattered, and no one would be lost. Captain, it was you who gave the order to retreat. The soldier was very wronged. He could hear clearly, and the captain's voice came from next to his ear, saying to retreat immediately. Seeing his extremely serious and aggrieved look, everyone was immediately puzzled. Could it be that what he heard was not the voice of the captain? Who could it be? Looking at the dark forest again, everyone couldn't help but feel a little chill in their hearts. Human weapons are still more powerful than giant pythons. Chen Mo's wave of pretending to play tricks still caused the python to eat several rounds of bullets. Old wounds added new wounds, plus Chen Mo used hallucinogens to control the snake for a long time. High excitement, and the wounds continued to bleed. This snake is about the same. But this has little to do with Chen Mo. It would be nice to live without being hit by a grenade. Natural selection is an eternal truth. Absorb the gene of the mutated python, plus the gene of this supernatural person. Evolution clues: you have gained +2 spiritual knowledge, +1 carbon-based organisms, and new progress has been made in the research of spiritual organs. Mutated boa constrictors are essentially no different from humans, they are both psychically mutated creatures. And the degree of mutation of both is good, so Chen Mo got 2 points of psionic knowledge. In this case, we are only 3 points away from the completion of the mission. As for the knowledge of common carbon-based organisms, Chen Mo now earns at least 5 to 10 points every day. This is just without expanding the original territory. In fact, every time it expands to a new environment, there will be a large number of new species in the local area, which Chen Mo has not absorbed genes. This brought a large amount of gene bank data to Chen Mo. Therefore, even though he has not obtained 200 carbon-based biological knowledge, Chen Mo only said that there is no problem with 3 points of psionic knowledge. 3 points, that is 3 powerful. No, it is a high degree of mutation. Rather than powerful. A powerful one naturally has a high degree of mutation, but some with a high degree of mutation are not necessarily powerful. The two are a containment and contained relationship. Just like the psionic knowledge that Chen Mo obtained from the mutant beetle before. Boom boom boom. In the mushroom forest, a bell was suddenly rang. The bell is hung in front of a mushroom house with eyes. It won't be blown by the wind here. As soon as she detected the shaking of the bell, Chen Mo knew that someone was calling her. This is a gadget set up by Chen Mo after the last silver wolf attack. The purpose is to detect someone invading in time. If there is a problem that cannot be solved, a few neighbors can ring the bell. Call out, big man. Chen Mo shifted his gaze and found that it was neatly organized, with 300 ants on the left and right pulling the rope and ringing the bell there. Roaring and eating ants behind. Queen, what's the matter? Chen Mo exudes consciousness and talks to the queen ant. Big man, you are here, I have a question to ask you. Said the queen. Then, several strange-looking ants appeared in front of Chen Mo. Chen Mo was startled suddenly, the ants also mutated. A strange change has taken place among my people. The queen exuded consciousness and asked Chen Mo for help. In her consciousness, the big man is a powerful existence comparable to the creator level, and he should understand this kind of thing. With the increase of wisdom, the queen is trying to understand the world every day, but the world seems to be changing every day. Psionic. After listening to Chen Mo's explanation, the queen still couldn't understand. You can collect them. They should have a long lifespan and have special abilities. Don't let them die. Chen Mo said. By the way, how many people do you have? Chen Mo asked. This point is very important. I don't know, maybe 10 million, maybe more, I can't calculate it precisely, because accidents happen at any time, you see, such as now. Following the queen's wishes, Chen Mo glanced at the same thing and roared, only to see that the other party swallowed another ant into his stomach. Puff! Chen Mo almost burst out laughing. You were amused. The queen exudes joyous awareness. I've learned to be humorous. She said happily. You've learned well. I'll find you more books another day. That's right, Chen Mo taught the queen to read and also taught her to count. This is more conducive to communication. Of course, you can also see how far this interesting queen can go. An ant queen who has learned knowledge, and a bunch of mutated ants under her command, hee. I am looking forward to it. At the same time, Chen Mo also counted immediately, and the number of his mushrooms was about 20 million. The number of spores is approximately infinite. But the strange thing is that with so many individuals, there is no variation. Maybe it's mutated, but it's all in the form of evolutionary points. Chen Mo speculated. Otherwise, there is no way to explain why there are so many, and the probability of mutation is 0. This is completely inconsistent with the samples and data he usually observes. Ants and a large number of insects are mutating. The psionic energy he absorbed was turned into evolution points, so there was no way to use it for this kind of mutation. This is of course much more efficient. And you can control the evolution by yourself. At critical moments, good steel can be used wisely. By the way, you have similar ants, you can lend me some. Chen Mo said. He never expected that raising ants would have such benefits, not only being able to tell jokes, but also providing a large number of data samples. It has been available every day for the past few days, and now there are hundreds of them. I can lend you some. The queen didn't care at all. After all, she herself lent Chen Mo to conduct experiments. This is a very normal thing. It didn't take long for 50 ants to be robbed of their genes by the mycelium. These 51 still have different forms. In other words, Chen Mo is equivalent to studying several different types. Moreover, this entire ant population is under Chen Mo's research, and Chen Mo is very familiar with the genetic data in it. After this research, Chen Mo's harvest is really great. Directly obtained psionic knowledge +3. There are too many variations in this group. But having said that, these neighbors who live around him seem to have mutated quite early, and their skills are also not bad. Even roaring is now like a rubber band, and it can be restored even if it is squashed. It is developing in the direction of Xiaoqiang who can't be beaten to death. Next, the research on evolutionary clues, psionic organs can be completed immediately. A day later, the spores spread to a new area, which is near the border of Monkey Kingdom and Dragon Kingdom. It's getting closer to the tropics here. The temperature is very high. New species also appeared in large numbers. Monkeys, elephants, leopards, tropical birds. The animals here have never suffered from Chen Mo mushrooms. I don't know how powerful the mushroom forest is. Soon, the first victims were born. In the forest, mushrooms burst from time to time, filling the air with spore dust. This time Chen Mo did not use hallucinogenic spores, but directly applied toxin spores. Now he has been able to make the spores grow on the flesh, although the speed is very slow, but it is much better than before. As soon as the animal fell down, the hyphae began to spread up that day, and the decay followed. Plus it's tropical here, everything rots very fast. Even without the effect of mycelium, it would be rotten within half a day, but with the arrival of Chen Mo, it would be rotten within an hour. Then, a large group of mushrooms just grew up. At this time, there is often a lottery. That is, as the animals die, the smell of decay spreads out, and many scavengers, such as wild boars, wolves, crows, and jackals, will smell the smell. But most of them will also fall here. That's why I often see dead animals surrounded by a clump of mushrooms, one after another, which looks very terrifying. The strength of the monkey country here is weaker, and there will no longer be humans in the forest. Chen Mo learned from the news that they have already shrunk to several big cities, and they are already overwhelmed, so Chen Mo dared to be so arrogant. Do it boldly, leaving out the indescribable horror process in the middle. In short, Chen Mo gained enough knowledge reserves in one day. Pushed carbon-based creatures up to +200. This is still a newcomer, and the number of mushrooms will double tomorrow, and this growth will usher in an explosion. The only thing that confuses Chen Mo is that his evolution point growth has slowed down. Compared with his explosive growth in the number of individuals, the growth of evolution points is out of proportion. Although it is true that with the increase in the number of mushrooms, the evolution points increase every day, but there is always a ceiling, which makes Chen Mo a little worried. If you can only maintain a daily income of about 5 evolutionary points in the future, it will be too bad. It's just time to evolve the psionic organs. I hope this will help me absorb psionic energy. Chen Mo didn't have hands, otherwise he would have rubbed them together to express his impatience. Evolution clues, psionic organs. Based on the knowledge reserve of carbon-based organisms +200, you have analyzed a psionic organ based on the existing genetic data. This organ will act on the cap, which can realize the visualization of psionic energy and has the ability to observe the concentration of psionic energy at close range. Activating this organ can increase fitness by +0.5. New vision, psionic visualization. This will further increase the speed at which I can research psychics. Chen Mo is very confident about this. After all, being able to see directly and conducting research through a layer are two completely different concepts. It's like people used to guess what cells look like, and seeing them directly with a microscope are completely two concepts. The girl's hood is the same, no matter how you guess it out of thin air. That's it. The best conclusions can be drawn by doing it yourself. Chen Mo understands these reasons very well. Therefore, he was very excited about gaining the ability to directly observe psionic energy. Immediately absorb nutrients and evolve spiritual root organs. This function was added to the visual organs by Chen Mo, and merged with the eyes. So far, Chen Mo's eyes, that is, detection radar, have 3 functions, namely high myopia, infrared vision, and psionic vision. Of course, the 3 functions can still be improved. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is the simplest version. But as long as you know the principle, the later ones can be adjusted by optimizing the structure. At this moment, Chen Mo is feeling the psionic perspective. Under this perspective, the whole world suddenly became another look. It turns out that psionic energy came out of nowhere. Chen Mo was very surprised. What surprised him the most was that the location where it emerged was right in the middle of the entire mushroom forest. This is where he first took root and evolved. No wonder the animals around me are evolving so fast. Chen Mo couldn't help being surprised. What a wonderful coincidence. In his mushroom forest, he accidentally occupied a spiritual energy spring. The biggest mushroom even coincides with this spring. In the pitch-black world, a little bit of starlight could be seen, emerging out of thin air from this place, and then drifting away into the distance. The farther away from the spring, the thinner the spiritual energy. And these spirits are absorbed when passing through animals or plants. In other words, it can be absorbed by anything. Rocks, rivers, even air. Therefore, springs are very important. I have to find a way to occupy the spring. With psionic vision turned on most mushrooms, Chen Mo discovered 10 springs one after another. Among them, the density within the basin is the highest. There are as many as 3 places. No wonder it mutated so much at the beginning. And Chen Mo grew up in the center of the mutation. No wonder he found that with the increase in the number, the increase in evolution points was not proportional, and it turned out to be the reason for a long time. Without occupying the spring, the spiritual energy absorbed by accident is naturally very little. Occupy the spring, speed up the absorption of spiritual energy, and get more evolution points. Just do it. The chariot and the chief acted immediately. Chariot crash. Chief impales. Trees began to fall one by one, and then sprinkled with mushrooms. The trees began to rot, and a large number of white mycelium began to spread. If you look down from the air at this time, it looks like cancer is spreading on the ground. At first, it was just a small spot, and the spot slowly expanded. Trees fell one by one, and the color of the ground became white. Black, the color of corruption. 2 days later, mushroom forests were established in the other 2 springs in the basin. At this moment, the mushroom forest has restrained its evil side, and it looks like a mushroom castle in a magical world. The shape of the mushroom forest is particularly neat, surrounding the invisible spiritual spring in the middle, layer upon layer, high and low, full of mushrooms. In the middle is the biggest mushroom, which directly covers the entire spring within its own range. Looking at the daily increase in spiritual power, from the original 5 points per day to the current 7 points per day. In other words, a spring almost provides a little evolution point every day. So far, Chen Mo has completely occupied the spiritual energy spring in the basin. Although there will still be psychic energy leaked out, and there are still a lot, but what Chen Mo gets is definitely the big head. The characteristics of this psionic energy are also strange. Chen Mo tried various materials, but they were tightly surrounded, but it didn't work, and they would still pass through. If you want to get more spiritual power, you can only plant as many mushrooms as possible around the spring. The other 7 springs, except for one near Jingyu town, the other 6 are all deep in the mountains. Coincidentally, among the 6 springs, one is the nest of an eagle, and the other is the nest of a mutated python. In other words, occupying the spring has real benefits. The more absorbed, the more likely to become stronger. Of course, it's just a probability. Not necessarily, because there were no powerful creatures born in the other springs. However, in Jingyu town, among the surrounding families, some people were extremely lucky and awakened their talents. Seeing this scene, Chen Mo couldn't help but look a little serious. In a big city, if there happens to be a spring, there will definitely be psychics around. The matter of the spring cannot be concealed, and humans will soon find out. Chen Mo has no doubts about this point, unless human beings are all fools, otherwise it is impossible to fail to discover this kind of law. What's more, they are already researching spiritual detection devices. As soon as this thing came out, the truth immediately became clear. At that time, the spring will definitely be a strategic resource. It is equivalent to an oil field, or a rare earth, or even a uranium mine. No, even more important than these. Because mining these requires technology. But the spring does not need anything, as long as people live there for a long time. It can be said that every spring is an arsenal for the mass production of psychers. This kind of place, no human being will let it go. And Chen Mo can't keep it. Yes, ordinary forests can be occupied by humans as they please, and there is poisonous gas, so it's fine if they don't come. But what if there is a spring? Don't you see such a harsh environment in the desert? As long as there is oil, a city will immediately rise from the ground. How many wars have been started because of oil fields? As long as there are benefits, there is nothing that humans cannot do, such as genocide and cannibalism. Not to mention that this is not a war against humans, it is just occupying the spring. And springs are much more attractive than oil fields. The oil field can only make the country's economy develop, but spiritual energy can directly strengthen itself. Imagine that a person who is about to die is suddenly nourished, has a talent, and greatly improves his physical fitness. What a crazy scene. Chen Mo couldn't even keep this basin. The base camp will be flattened by humans, and it will directly become a place to create strong humans. Something is wrong. This was Chen Mo's first thought. Keep a low profile and get out of the spring. This is impossible. Chen Mo will definitely not give away precious evolution points to others. High profile, immediately develop weapons, and fight humans. Obviously, if Chen Mo dares to expose now, he will definitely be flattened the next day. Don't even have to wait until the next day. A dozen planes spraying pesticides are enough. Not to mention a big killer like a nuclear bomb. Now is definitely not the time to showdown with humans, let alone do it right. Don't even think about it. You can't let it go, you can't beat it. Then you can only find a way to hide it. This is the only way Chen Mo can think of at present. We must immediately research the shielding technology of the spiritual root, or the technology that interferes with the detection of human spiritual energy. This is definitely the most important thing right now. Moreover, Chen Mo has to accelerate expansion, striving to occupy more spiritual springs than humans. Try to prevent the progress of psionic technology, and then develop techniques to block psionic detection. Chen Mo decided to carry out the 2 plans simultaneously. But how to stop the progress of human research and development? Chen Mo was stumped all of a sudden, this is obviously not going to work, poisoning scientists. This is feasible, Lu Ru can get in touch with these scientists, but the problem is that there are many countries, and Chen Mo can stop a big country at most, which is useless. Soon this technology will be discovered by any country, and then spread. What Chen Mo did was useless except to expose Lu Ru. The practice of delaying human research, it seems, is not working. Then what about interfering with human psionic detection technology? Chen Mo muttered to himself. This seems feasible. Shin is immediately establishing evolutionary clues and researching psionic shielding technology. But after thinking about it, Chen Mo realized that he couldn't shield the world's springs. As long as there is a comparison, human beings know that they have been disturbed. Therefore, this road also fell into a dead end. Chen Mo suddenly felt dizzy. What a tricky question. Involuntarily, he turned his gaze to the laboratory. Shop around and look at the beauties and maybe get some ideas. When thinking about a problem, walking around is good for broadening your mind. Chen Mo couldn't walk, so naturally he had to switch perspectives. The moment he saw Lu Ru, Chen Mo suddenly had an inspiration. The method of using Lu Ru twice before flashed through his mind. Why delay human research on psionic detection technology? They should be helped. Yes, let them detect with the help of their technology. In this way, Chen Mo can play tricks. Can find ways to hide from humans. This is the only way Chen Mo can think of. It may be replaced by other spiritual detection technologies later, but it is absolutely possible to delay the time. As long as human beings use living, psychic mushrooms, as the core components for detecting psychic energy, then Chen Mo can selectively give some psychic springs to humans, and some of them can be occupied by himself. While using this technology to delay human beings' research and development of psionic detection technology, Chen Mo can also focus on strengthening himself. In this way, whether it is war or peace with human beings in the future, the initiative will be in his hands. The only difficulty in this plan is how to quickly promote and popularize this technology. Must be fast, and to be invisible. Chen Mo has already understood the technology of human beings. The technology to realize it is very complicated, and the equipment is huge, as big as a refrigerator, which is far less simple and easy to use than Chen Mo's. And they still have a technical difficulty that has not been overcome. It may take a year or two, of course, if you are lucky, it may be 2 a day. No one can accurately predict the time of technological progress. This is why Chen Mo is so anxious. He has to be ahead of humans and launch detection technology in advance, which can immediately interrupt human research. Let them take another observation path. The psychic mushroom, evolved by Chen Mo, is very small. It has an absolute competitive advantage, and the cost is so low that it explodes. This kind of mushroom can be grown directly. It just so happened that Lu Ru was chatting with the person in charge of the spiritual detection technology at the moment. In the other party's words, he was very wary of Lu Ru and was unhappy. It means that Lu Ru's mushroom research project has squeezed out his research funding. And at the meeting, why is Lu Ru the first to speak? Professor Lu, I've read your report. In my opinion, your research on psychic power has stopped here. Psychic power is not what you imagined. If that's the case, then don't speculate too much. Lu Ru hung up the phone, very angry. Originally, when she heard that the other party was dissatisfied with her, Lu Ru thought it was because she was ignorant academically, and it would be enough to communicate with her, but she didn't expect the other party to think that there was something wrong with her character. This made Lu Ru very angry. What a wonder. She patted the report in her hand. I was very upset and left it aside. This is half of the report of the psionic detector, and she only got half of it. The project leader had a problem with her and refused to show it to her. Only after the research is completed, Lu Ru can allow to watch. The reason turned out to be a ridiculous fear of leaks. Everyone knows that the research of every big country is stuck at this crucial step. It's as if you've researched it. Unhappy, Lu Ru turned on the computer and browsed a forum composed of scientists from all over the world. Get the latest research success news here. No country has yet made a breakthrough. Which country makes a breakthrough, it can lead this technology and set standards, just like 4G and 5G. The leader sets the standard, and the right to speak will greatly increase in the future, and the leading scientist will also receive a lot of honors and become industry leader. Lu Ru murmured, In fact, it can also be seen from here why the other party is so afraid of her. It is nothing more than fear that because of his great reputation, he will use this to take away his credit. Lu Ru sighed and stopped thinking about it. Take a shower and clear your mind. Then, soaking in the bathtub, the whole body is covered with bubbles. Lu Ru just leaned against her, narrowed her eyes, and fell asleep. She likes it. Suddenly, the sleeping Lu Ru opened her eyes, jumped out of the bathtub, and rushed directly to her computer. Chen Mo laughed wickedly. Not long after, Jingyu Town welcomed an expert. Team Luo from the forest farm was also on the reception list, and he couldn't help feeling that Professor Lu's current reception standards are too high. The mayor and the big shots of the research institute all came. Lu Ru got off the helicopter, but didn't exchange greetings with everyone, and went straight to the point, and asked Team Luo to take them to several places prepared in advance. The first place is the place where psychers are found. She needs to carefully examine the surrounding plants. Professor Lu, we have checked here. Some experts said. They are stationed at the research station here, because they found psychers here, so they checked all around. But Lu Ru had a strong premonition in her heart. She checked it carefully. Then, a strange mushroom came into her sight. This kind of mushroom is somewhat similar to the one in her laboratory, but the metallization is more serious, and the surface is almost covered with a thin layer of metal. This structure is obviously inedible, but it is very suitable for preservation. However, beyond that, she found nothing. Checked in until night. Also did not find. Continue tomorrow, Lu Ru said. She wasn't going to leave, she was going to stay. At night, Lu Ru didn't turn on the lights, but stood by the window, looking at the incomparably quiet scene outside the window. She suddenly had an idea, opened the microscope, took out the strange mushroom she found before, and soon, she found that some strange cells, similar to nerve cells, moved in strange directions. Lu Ru's eyes widened in disbelief. In the beautiful eyes, only deep shock remained. The first spring was discovered by Lu Ru. She discovered some mushroom cells, which can sense the concentration of psionic energy. The effective detection range is 10 kilometers. Farther than any psionic instrument being researched. Much farther. This detection range, as well as precision, is unprecedented. As soon as Lu Ru's discovery was reported, it attracted unprecedented attention. The funds that belonged to the research of psionic detection before were all stuffed in with one brain. Under Chen Mo's operation, it was natural that someone couldn't sleep, and inadvertently discovered Lu Ru's behavior of coming out to observe mushrooms at night. As a result, the reporters moved upon hearing the news. Soon, Lu Ru made headlines again. This is the third time. Every time, it's a breakthrough discovery. Lu Ruji's name resounded throughout the entire world. Many have compared her to the most famous female scientist, and said that Lu Ru is the founder of psionic technology. Even other big countries have to admit that this technology is amazing. Ask for the exchange of technology. It is impossible to hide the whole technique, especially after Lu Ru went to Jingyu Town. Because of several accidents, Jingyu Town has long been the focus of attention of all parties. Soon, the disappearance spread. Under Chen Mo's hint, some scientists in Jingyu Town unintentionally leaked more specific information. Soon, the news that a kind of mushroom could detect spiritual energy instantly detonated the whole world. After dyeing the special cells in this mushroom, it is possible to detect its location and then detect whether there are any spiritual abnormalities around it. Within a week, this weird mushroom was acquired by various countries in various ways at any cost. This kind of mushroom was called spiritual mushroom by Lu Ru in the report. In short, the spiritual energy detection technology has spread to the whole world at the fastest speed. Chen Mo secretly contributed to the flames. Lu Ru didn't do anything to leak the secrets, it was all done by the scientists stationed in Jingyu Town. At the same time, biological research is also rapidly emerging. The mystery of genes has once again attracted everyone's attention. Psychic mushrooms are a magical species that can detect psionic energy. Chen Mo took advantage of this trend, especially Lu Ru's many reports, and directly promoted it to the point where everyone knows it. Anyone with a little bit of knowledge knows that there is an invisible substance in the world. This substance is called psionic energy, and its discoverer is Lu Ru. And how to detect spiritual energy? The discoverer is still Lu Ru. The changes in the world are all caused by spiritual energy. And psionic mushrooms can find psionics. Under this logic, psionic mushrooms instantly became a strategic resource. What's even more weird is that the psychic mushrooms can only survive if they are near the spring. Leave this environment and they will die in no time. Regardless of any suitable circumstances, psionic mushrooms will die anywhere from 5 to 10 days after leaving the vicinity of the spring. That is to say, there needs to be a spring to feed the psychic mushrooms, and the psychic mushrooms consume a lot. Because of this special property, psionic mushrooms have become an extremely precious resource. It is impossible for a country without springs to have psionic mushrooms. Even a country with psionic mushrooms must keep a certain amount of mushrooms near the springs for emergencies. As the psychic mushrooms detected the spring in the big city, the function of the spring was exposed. The spring eye, this strange phenomenon named by Lu Ru, immediately became the center of the storm. The major countries strictly control the number of psychic mushrooms, and prohibit the outflow of psychic mushrooms. Conclude a psionic non-diffusion contract. At the same time, every capable country tried its best to get psychic mushrooms, and then went crazy to detect any suspicious places in the territory. Especially the places where supernatural beings have appeared. The springs in inhabited areas were the first to be discovered. Once discovered, these springs will be heavily guarded and heavily guarded. When, according to Professor Lu's speculation, the first human-generated psyker appeared, the whole world went crazy. It's easy to think of places with powerful mutant beasts. Near Jingyu town, as the original eagle's nest, someone came to check it immediately and then went back ecstatically. The next day, the roar resounded over the basin. Large-scale engineering teams were airlifted into the forest. Even if they were attacked by mutated species and lost a lot, this kind of mission did not stop. The benefits are too great. The news about psychic power is also overwhelming. Another psionic spring has been discovered. This makes our country strong again. A spring has been discovered in the monkey country. The ugly country immediately stated that it will do its best to ensure the safety of the monkey country, and will swear to the death to protect the rights of the citizens of the monkey country to enjoy psychic powers. The island nation discovered a spring in Chongxi Mountain. The Prime Minister announced that this day will be the Extraordinary Festival. The whole country is full of joy. Psychic, extraordinary, the end of mankind. No, it's a new future. The whole world was thrown into a kind of frenzy and jubilation. Because, without knowing where the global mutation came from, everyone felt a stone in their hearts. Now, since we know it, there is no need to be afraid. What's more, every scientist is giving the public an atmosphere, declaring, a new era is coming. However, what humans don't know is that they are walking on a planned, technical road. The technology tree is being planned. A pair of invisible big hands are secretly promoting the development of everything. This method of detecting psionic energy is indeed very useful and very advanced. However, this technology is actually secretly controlled by Chen Mo. And through this method, Chen Mo squeezed out the rest of the psionic research without anyone noticing it. The scientific research of human beings to detect psionic energy will be delayed on a large scale, or even stopped completely, because the current method is so easy to use. The major countries have already begun to cancel the experiment, concentrating all their resources on how to use the spring. After all, there is competition between every country. People are already discovering more springs, researching how to use psionic energy, and you are still looking for a new method to detect psionic energy. Isn't that waiting for death? Therefore, we must hurry up. This is a psychic technology competition about the rise and fall. Capable countries don't want to miss out, and work hard to be at the forefront. What they didn't expect was that Chen Mo, as a former human being, knew all these things too well. Human beings at this moment have fallen into the path dependence of technology. Unintentionally, I have strayed off the technology tree. Skip the most important piece of technology, psychic detection. As for the springs discovered by humans, they were all discovered by Chen Mo on purpose. At present, there is no way for humans to take advantage of some advantages. What's more, even if it is a spring discovered by humans, Chen Mo still has a part of the benefits. The psionic mushroom is above board, occupying one of the best areas in the spring. As for the springs that humans can discover, Chen Mo controls about 60%. This number can't be too small, and there are some areas that obviously have psychic powers. Chen Mo dare not say that there is no psychic power. These are areas that can only be reached by air. Chen Mo's own 40% alone is enough. And with the advancement of this plan, Chen Mo had an unexpected harvest. That is, he is often able to obtain all kinds of confidential information. The reason is that the area where the psionic mushrooms are located is originally an extremely confidential area. It can be said that every discovered spring has been heavily protected and built as a military fortress. With the help of human beings, Chen Mo gradually opened up his global vision. His psychic mushrooms are planted in every spring that can be found. Chen Mo also guessed that there are about 2,000 such springs discovered in the whole world. And it's not evenly distributed. There is no way to detect the Antarctic and Arctic, as well as those in the ocean. Chen Mo secretly marked the locations for himself. These are his expansion areas, goals. At the moment, these springs are Chen Mo's private land. Just waiting for him to occupy. Okay, don't worry, Principal, I won't talk nonsense, but you have to make sure, this is the last report, I'm really annoyed by this. Lu Ru said lightly. In the past, she would never have dared to talk to the principal like this. But now it is different. The president of any university must curry favor with her. She is the top scientist, all kinds of research funding, all kinds of resources, all kinds of projects, she wants whatever she wants now. The above funds are almost unlimited supply to her. As long as she wanted, she could even immediately build a new laboratory according to her own will. Not only the country, but also the major powers and consortiums, who are willing to give her money, do cooperative research, and even, as long as they say a word at the seminar. There are countless benefits at hand. Strength is confidence, so she is too lazy to go to general invitations and reports. Even if I sleep in the laboratory, I don't want to go. But the headmaster could only hastily agree. It was a great honor for her to agree to go to one of them. Hang up the phone, in the laboratory. Lu Ru looked at the allowances, subsidies, and bonuses issued in various names. There are also countless messages of greetings. Some trance. The laboratory was miserable and cold for several years, and no one asked about it, and it became famous all over the world. Lu Ru shook her head, expelling these emotions from her mind. Looking at the computer, he was a little puzzled. After the inspiration, I looked at the papers I wrote, and the various reasoning processes about psionic abilities, all of which were genius ideas that were unconstrained. She was in a daze. Is this an ability she possesses? When did I become so talented? She muttered to herself. If someone heard it, they would laugh and scold him, shameless narcissist. But Lu Ru knew that in her heart, she really doubted herself so much. These are not smug words. She really didn't know that she was so smart. But, why didn't I show this talent before? Lu Ru became more and more confused. Although she said she was very talented and worked hard, but the smarter she is, the more she knows, the more she is in awe. After careful analysis, she felt that it was unlikely that she could research such a thing. Even, she did have these thoughts in her mind, but for a moment, seeing these thoughts, she felt a strange feeling. It's as if he didn't come up with it himself. Could it be that I have also awakened psionic energy? Lu Ru had to think so. Otherwise, she really knows what level she is, and some things can't be done just by working hard. It really takes talent. Maybe I have awakened a strange ability, so I have more inspiration. That's all she could explain. Chen Mo was just about to come over to check the map, and was going to study the expansion route, expanding to that area, the shortest path. So I heard Lu Ru talking to herself there. He couldn't help smiling. It's okay for Lu Ru to think so. Not bad. After all, this is similar to a superpower. As long as Chen Mo is by her side, she can get some extra inspiration, a lot of psionic powers and genetic knowledge. Lu Ru didn't just guess, she also secretly asked someone for a lot of information about psychers, studied it carefully, and put it on herself to see which ones fit her. Body strength increases. Facial senses become sharper, cell activity rises, and the whole body gradually becomes younger. This woman has become beautiful. Has her figure become more perfect? Has she become very attractive to the opposite gender? Lu Ru couldn't help but compare the opponent's figure data with her own, and then smiled triumphantly. Keep reading. have the ability to manipulate supernatural powers such as strange flames. Unexplained supernatural power, source of energy unknown. Comparing the past item by item, Lu Ru couldn't help but feel a little frustrated. It seemed that except for her figure, she seemed to have nothing else to match. Chen Mo was on the sidelines, taking the opportunity to peek at the information of many psychers. He found that among human beings, there are many types of psychics, similar to ants. According to his current knowledge, it shows that human beings have a good ability to absorb psychic energy and are good carriers. Perhaps in the future, he will go further and further on the road of spiritual energy. It's a promising race. Of course, this is from the perspective of Chen Mo. If the big tree has wisdom, it will definitely feel very uncomfortable, thinking that this is a terrifying race. The rest of the races have a future, which means they have no future. This statement applies to almost all species, except for Chen Mo. Waiting for Lu Ru to fall asleep, Chen Mo controlled her to get up as usual. Inevitably during the period, it is natural to enjoy a lot of beautiful scenery. Turn on computer. Chen Mo superimposed the coordinates in his mind with those on the map. At the same time, Chen Mo also recorded the entire world map, and a route of how to expand and evolve gradually took shape in his mind. The first step is naturally to go east, and then spread to the vicinity of the coastline, spread along the coastline, and then find a way to take a boat, or manipulate others, or find a way to spread from the springs controlled by humans. Occupies the entire tropics. Tropical areas have a large population, and there are not many springs that Chen Mo can occupy, but the species here are very rich, and the environment is most suitable for Chen Mo to grow. When it occupies the tropics, it spreads to the north and south poles, the subtropics, temperate zone, frigid zone, and then the north and south poles, expanding all the way. Of course, if he can occupy the north and south poles, it means that Chen Mo has secretly occupied the whole world. Because it can grow in that harsh environment, it means that Chen Mo's adaptability has reached the world's top level. Like rats and cockroaches, they are found all over the world and in almost any environment. And he is even more exaggerated, because he is a whole, occupying the whole world by himself, and when the time comes, he will use the whole world's nutrients to support and occupy the whole world's springs. Gathering so many resources, and Chen Mo itself has infinite possibilities for evolution. In the next period of time, humans should focus on how to use psionic energy, and I must take advantage of this time to evolve to the point where I can compete with humans. After Chen Mo planned and completed the expansion plan, he murmured. After turning off the computer and letting Lu Ru lie back on the bed, Chen Mo turned his gaze and came to the forefront of the expansion. This is already a kingdom of mushrooms, and all kinds of mushrooms are expanding rapidly. A spring is being occupied by Chen Mo. But this time it was very strange. There was resistance. It's a group of monkeys. Among these monkeys, 2 mutant monkeys have been produced. Not to mention their huge size, the key is that one of them can use spiritual energy to generate flames. And I don't know what happened, because of some coincidence, this ghost monkey knew where to stand in the spring. In this way, his ability has become stronger. It's kind of an increase. As a plant, flames can be regarded as Chen Mo's nemesis. Even the spore powder is just a plant, especially the neurotoxin in it, which will quickly lose its effect when exposed to high temperatures. Moreover, these monkeys have long observed from a distance and know that the spores are highly poisonous. They are much smarter than other animals that come up to die. Not close at all. With the help of the flaming monkey, each of these monkeys held 2 torches. Their flames are endless. Keep throwing torches from a distance, and then the expansion of the mushroom forest will stop. Not only that, but they will keep cleaning up the surrounding mushroom communities that have not yet matured. Prevents mushroom colonies from expanding and growing into mushroom forests. It seems that the spring has been occupied by them and has become the den of the monkey group. It is conceivable that without Chen Mo's intervention, it would not be long before this group of monkeys would give birth to more supernatural beings, and become the overlord of this forest. Maybe there will be a creature like the Monkey King. But now that Chen Mo is here, it is impossible for such a thing to exist. Although he is also very interested in cultivating some intelligent creatures, forget about monkeys, this thing is really annoying. At this time, Chen Mo's carbon-based biological knowledge is already very rich. After all, He has already spanned the subtropics and the tropics, and his genetic map has already reached more than 300 species. Next, Chen Mo is ready to start evolving weapons. Because of the matter of the spiritual spring, competition with humans is destined to be on the table. Therefore, Chen Mo must speed up the expansion and start to evolve various weapons at the same time. At present, the following options can be studied. Chen Mo opened the attribute panel, and the evolution tree shown in it. Chen Mo listed some branches that can be studied. From this, 2 currently feasible options were carefully selected. The first option is to continue to improve the structure of the spores to make them lighter, preferably able to diffuse in the air for a long time like a mist, and continue to spread. The second option is to improve the capsule structure to make it more shrinkable and more explosive. A structure can be designed to allow it to eject spore dust. Both of these schemes can achieve the purpose of remote attack. In theory, the first one is stronger and more powerful, but obviously, the subsequent development ability is weaker, and it needs to produce spores continuously, which requires a lot of nutrients. More importantly, this is an indiscriminate attack that will create a large area without creatures. Therefore, after careful consideration, this plan was temporarily abandoned by Chen Mo. Unless it is a large-scale extinction operation, this method is basically useless, and it is impossible for Chen Mo to carry out a large-scale extinction operation on this planet. There should be no lunatic who would choose to destroy the home planet. Maintaining biodiversity is also a very important thing. Human beings are doing this, and of course Chen Mo is also doing it. The gene of the organism itself is an incomparably precious wealth. Chen Mo is also counting on the continuous evolution of creatures on this planet to provide him with various genetic data. The second is to improve the cystic structure. This structure is not uncommon in nature in the world. Many plants have this function, but Chen Mo wants a more powerful one. The kind that can be sprayed out at least hundreds of meters. Evolution clue: long-range projection. Based on the existing genetic data, you have analyzed a possible evolutionary structure. This structure will improve the expansion organs and further increase the dispersal ability. It is expected to increase the adaptability by plus 0.1-0.2 and the risk level by plus 0.3-0.5. You need the knowledge reserve support of plus 300 carbon-based organisms, and the research results depend on the strength and regeneration ability of cells. This ability Chen Mo can research now. As knowledge becomes stronger and stronger, some evolutionary clues of Chen Mo no longer need additional conditions, and the massive genetic database provides him with enough usable knowledge. Using this knowledge, Chen Mo can design the most reasonable solution under the current conditions. The project of evolution clues, long-distance projection, was immediately put on the most urgent agenda by Chen Mo. Not one day later, Chen Mo will lose 1 point of evolution. In the group of monkeys, there may be another mutant monkey, which will cause more troubles for Chen Mo. In this deserted dense forest stretches out, a battle of evolution unfolds. One of the parties is the unconsciously evolved monkey. They have evolved tribal forms, with psychic monkeys acting like prophets or tribal leaders. Under their mobilization, the monkey group dispatched in whole teams, burning down the mushroom forest continuously, and at the same time trying to tame the mutant beasts. On the other side is Chen Mo. His mushroom forest met his opponent for the first time, and it kept shrinking in this area, and the area was getting smaller. Boom! Flames splashed. The flames inspired by the psychic monkey were terrifying, capable of producing thousands of degrees of heat, and the largest mushroom, Chen Mo, burned dry in an instant. Whoa whoa whoa! The monkeys cheered, celebrating their victory over a formidable foe, and carved the image of this evil mushroom on the rock wall. Thousands of years later, this may be an unimaginable war record. Chen Mo looked at the cheering monkey group, his vision gradually dimmed, and he lost his vision of a mushroom forest. In the map constructed in his mind, the map of that area directly dimmed. He was no longer able to observe that area. This area must be occupied. Chen Mo said lightly, looking carefully at the map. In addition to the spiritual spring, the route he planned to occupy the hotspot happened to pass through here. If it is blocked by the monkey group, it will seriously interfere with his plan. Chen Mo checked the attributes. He now has 50 evolution points. With the help of human beings, spiritual mushrooms have the ability to fly, and they have settled in hundreds of springs. These springs are used by humans, but some of the psychic powers were stolen by Chen Mo openly. These have been transformed into evolution points. Until now, Chen Mo has collected 50 evolution points. This is just used to complete the evolution clue, long-distance projection. Open the phylogenetic tree. The genes that can enhance the strength of cells are open black lens bracket metal close black lens bracket. There is still a regenerative gene missing, but this is not a problem. With this, the cell strength includes 2 dimensions of hardness and toughness can be improved first. In short, get out the weapon first, and Chen Mo will continue to think of a way in terms of regeneration speed related to cell toughness and replenishment of mechanical loss. A large number of tropical animal genes should provide genetic data. Warning: you are trying to use the evolution point to recombine and evolve the metal gene, which may increase the metal content in the cell, increase the strength of the cell wall, and slightly reduce the nutrient absorption capacity. 99.99% probability. It is worth noting that this operation may lead to unknown consequences. 0.01% probability. Please choose carefully. Perform recombination evolution. Chen Mo invested 5 evolution points, and recombined and evolved the metal type 2 feet gene. Continue. Metal type 3 feet consumes 10 evolution points, and the probability of loss of control has risen to 20%. This metal gene consumes more than corruption, but type 3 has already reached the level of consumption of the previous corruption gene type 4. However, Chen Mo is still ready to continue to reorganize and evolve. Metal type 4 feet consumes 20 evolution points, and the probability of loss of control has risen to 50%. Chen Mo still wants to continue, but the evolution points are not enough. And because this technical reserve is very low, the probability of losing control is soaring. It can be said that the next recombination evolution is no different from the variation of ordinary animals. Whether it is good or not depends entirely on fate. Evolution clue: long-range projection. Based on the knowledge reserve of carbon-based organisms plus 300, you have analyzed a cavity structure gene based on the existing genetic data. This gene covers the sac gene, acts on the cap, and sprays the entire sac structure by compressing the cavity. Activating this gene can increase the adaptability by plus 0.1 and the danger level by plus 0.3. The cavity structure designed by Chen Mo barely met the requirements and won the lowest level of award. The reason is that Chen Mo's ability to regenerate cells did not meet the standard, or even failed completely. But it's barely usable, at least I have my own weapon. Chen Mo immediately began deploying the weapon. The eyes of the sword-pointing monkeys. The mushroom colony near that area began to grow crazily again. They no longer hid themselves, started to open, and the color of their bodies began to change. It showed a weird gray-black color, and in some places, it also showed a hint of metallic luster. These mushrooms have activated the metal type 4 feet gene, which has stronger cell strength, and more metal components, which can improve their fire resistance. Of course, the side effect is not without it: their growth rate is slowed down. The more metal that accumulates, the slower the growth. But this is not a problem. Chen Mo made the mushrooms in the front row grow like this to block the torches, so as not to burn the roots of the mushrooms in the back row. The mushrooms in the rear are less resistant to fire, and the roots are afraid of being burned by the flames, but they grow very fast and are very tall. A kind of jet opening also began to grow on the canopy. Among them, there are cystic structures. By compressing the cavity, the capsule is ejected, falls to the ground, and explodes. Chen Mo named this spore cannon. The spore cannon can spray a distance of 50 meters, and with the tall mushrooms, the actual distance can reach 100 meters by projectile method. Chen Mo confronted the monkey group again, but the spore forest still did not advance. These monkeys became more and more numerous, and they gathered the surrounding tribes to form a huge monkey tribe. 100 meters is not enough. These monkeys use the wind and set fires along the wind, and some even throw torches on the big trees. Now the monkey's attack distance is even farther than Chen Mo's. Okay, longer than your hand, right? Chen Mo smiled coldly. Shoots spores directly onto large trees. Bang bang bang. Spherical sacs exploded on the trunk. Immediately, the tops of the entire tree were covered with spores. These spores start to germinate and corrupt the tree. No need to kill trees. It just absorbs part of the nutrients, and then grows mushrooms. Taking advantage of this, Chen Mo's battery began to spread across the top of the forest. Boom! A monkey was hit directly in the face by a spore bomb. There was no scream, and he fell down directly. Spore bombs are not only poisonous, powerfully corrosive, but also hallucinogenic. On the first day, the monkey group was able to barely contend. But the next day, when more mushrooms grew on the top of the tree, they were immediately routed. Chen Mo relied on this method to accurately project spores to the branches of big trees and other places where spores are easy to accumulate. Soon, Chen Mo regained a lot of lost ground. Approaching the spring again. There is a mushroom forest on the ground, and the top of the 100-meter-high tree above is a small spore fort. The dense sound of bang bang resounded through the entire forest. A bizarre war is about to come to an end. If humans were here, they would be so shocked that they would drop their glasses. Because this is so outrageous, the monkeys are holding shields and throwing torches. And the attacking side is the mushroom. Yes, all kinds of shapes, big and small, all kinds of weird mushrooms. Some huge mushrooms are 50 or 60 meters high, and heavy spore bombs are fired from them. Although the distance is not far, when one hits the ground, a large piece of leaves are blown up, and the spore powder released by the lacing can instantly cover the range of more than 10 meters. Although the mushrooms on the trunk are small, their spore shells are sprayed far away and there are many of them. Roar! Among the group of monkeys, a huge monkey, 5 or 6 meters high, rushed over holding a wooden plank. In a crazy collision, it bumped into several huge mushrooms. But it soon discovered that these mushrooms couldn't be bumped. It's only been a few days. These mushrooms are already very hardy and will soon rival trees. Relying on his tyrannical body, he held his breath, hit a few mushrooms, and fled back in embarrassment. Chen Mo really wanted to give the opponent a shot. But it's a pity that he played too hard just now, and didn't reserve a heavy cannon. So can't keep this guy. This is also one of the shortcomings of the spore cannon discovered by Chen Mo. Without the ability to regenerate, it's just so painful. Not only the range of spores is not enough, but the reload speed is heartbreaking. If it weren't for the fact that there were too many of them, and the mushrooms could take turns firing shells, they would have been pushed horizontally long ago. It took 410 minutes for Chen Mo to reload the ammunition once. This speed is comparable to human beings, even the most ordinary human beings. It is enough for Chen Mo to die hundreds of times. After all, monkeys know how to use this gap, let alone humans. But the bullying is that you are monkeys. After all, Chen Mo has a strong consciousness and knows all kinds of tactics. Anyway, before rebirth, he was also a military enthusiast. I have never seen a pig run, and I have always eaten pork. Therefore, after he opened the whole map vision, he refined the operation and consumed the monkey day by day. The monkey finally couldn't stand it anymore and was ready to run away. At this time, Chen Mo was very close to the spring. But here, Chen Mo slowed down his attack speed, from advancing more than 10 kilometers a day, to 1 or 2 kilometers behind, to 1 or 200 meters now. Then, at this moment, he completely attacked and remained motionless. He is waiting for an opportunity. Sure enough, with Chen Mo showing weak attack, these monkeys are not ready to go. Instead, the risk continues to stay near the spring. Obviously, they clearly know the benefits of this place. As the saying goes, people die for money, and birds die for food. This is the truth. These monkeys are joking with their lives. In this way, there was a stalemate for a few days. In the past few days, the number of mushrooms has grown exponentially. The trees around the spring are covered with mushrooms. But these mushrooms are tiny. Soon, a night will come. Overnight, the forest around the spring was covered with mushrooms. Chen Mo is not going to let go of the strongest among these monkeys. The delay of the past few days also allowed Chariot, Miss Heisha, and the chief to rush to the battlefield. It has to be said that with the progress of the mutation, this kind of long-distance raid is no longer a challenge for them. It is also easy to recognize along the road, just follow the mushroom marks of special colors and run all the way. Boom! The battle started again. When the first spore shell fell into the stockade at the spring, the monkeys panicked. They all started to run away. It can be seen that compared with humans, their degree of organization is still too low. When encountering a sudden attack, without any preparation plan, they directly turned into the original beasts and began to scatter and run away. But this time, Chen Mo prepared for several days. How to let them escape? For a time, the entire area was turned into a sea of spores. The spore cannon greatly increases the spread speed and range of the spore powder. It used to depend on the wind blowing, but now Chen Mo can instantly explode spore powder in an area. A deadly poisonous mist is formed. In an instant, large areas of monkeys all fell down. Among them, the most powerful ones are also the smartest, and they run wildly holding their shields. Unlike other animals, they know how to hold their breath. Therefore, Chen Mo's spores did not have much effect on them in a short time. They ran out of the encirclement with their strong physique. But Chen Mo kept staring at them. At this time, several monkeys were out of breath, more or less, each inhaled some spores, began to cough, felt uncomfortable, and was in a bad state. At this time, the ground began to shake. One monkey was holding on to the trunk, thinking it was caused by his coughing too much, while the other thought he was hallucinating. Only one monkey looked up and accidentally saw the chariot rushing towards it. However, the chariot has already increased its speed to the fastest. After these hours of nourishment at the spring, although it has not obviously mutated into a racial talent, its size has expanded again. A 1,500 Jin wild boar can reach a height of 3 or 4 meters without standing up. What is this concept? In short, it rushed over without a single pause, and the 3 mutated monkeys flew straight up. One of them was very unlucky and was directly hung on the tusk of the chariot. So of course he was gutted. Before the other 2 monkeys could stand up, they were dealt with by Miss Hassie and the chief. Although the 2 little guys are not that powerful physically, their attacks are extremely sharp. Chen Mo watched the cold light flash and the monkey's head fell to the ground, and couldn't help laughing appreciatively. Miss Black Silk became stronger and stronger. The chief did the same, and directly opened a hole in the opponent's forehead. The fight between animals is much simpler and rougher than that of humans, and it is a deadly move when it comes up. After several monkeys died, hyphae spread quickly from their bodies. The white hyphae spread, enveloping the entire corpse. Event: you absorbed the flesh and blood of the mutated monkey, obtained 100% of the mutated monkey's genes, you extracted usable genes from it, you integrated these genes into your own genetic map, and your cell growth speed was partially increased, in a disguised form in order to improve the viability, the spore adaptability plus 0.2, the spore growth period is shortened by 20 minutes. Event: you absorbed the flesh and blood of the mutated monkey, and extracted the evolution point plus 0.1 from it. Event: you absorbed the flesh and blood of a mutated monkey, and extracted plus 0.2 evolution points from it. Information: your understanding of mutant monkeys has deepened, your understanding of genetic changes caused by psionic energy has deepened, your knowledge of psionic effects and organic species has increased, psionic knowledge plus 2, carbon-based organisms plus 1. A large piece of news was immediately posted. Chen Mo was ecstatic. These monkeys have occupied the spring for a long time, but they still have some spiritual energy in their bodies. At this moment, all these psychic powers belong to Chen Mo. From the most powerful flame monkey, Chen Mo extracted a full 5 evolutionary points. The other 2 also have as many as 3 points. Add up to 11 evolution points. During these 3 days, Chen Mo gained another 20 evolutionary points. In addition to the 5 evolutionary points left before, his evolutionary points have now reached 36 points. You can continue to evolve. However, there is one thing that is very strange. From the genes, there is no part that manipulates the flame. This should be related to the knowledge of psionics. I haven't been able to analyze the psionic genes yet. Chen Mo analyzed it carefully, took this matter as a record, and put it aside. It is the last word to occupy the spiritual energy spring as soon as possible. The population of Monkey Country has been concentrated in several big cities, so Chen Mo can grow unscrupulously in this area. In the sky, there is also a dense forest with a height of 100 meters as a cover. Even in the event of a helicopter flying through the sky, it is impossible to detect anomalies on the ground. A large number of mushrooms began to grow. A clearing had already been cleared at the original spring, and Chen Mo directly grew a large mushroom there. This is the main force for absorbing psionic energy. Around, in a circle, layer upon layer of absorption. In the process of expansion, mushrooms occasionally increase some carbon-based biological knowledge reserves. This is because the monkeys still keep a lot of prey in this primitive tribe-like stockade. Some are alive, so Chen Mo took advantage of it for nothing. Suddenly, a reminder popped up directly. Event: you absorbed the flesh and blood of mutated earthworms, obtained 2% of the mutated earthworm genes, and you extracted usable genes from them. Regeneration: you integrated these genes into your own genetic map, and your recovery ability was partially enhanced, your cell activity has increased, the spore growth cycle has been shortened by 10 minutes, and your fitness plus 0.1. Windfall. Chen Mo quickly turned his attention to it, and it turned out to be a wooden basin. There are many mutated earthworms in it. This should be the monkey's usual snacks, or used to feed some captive pheasants and the like. They also obviously discovered the strangeness of these earthworms, that is, they grow very fast. Just sprinkle some rotten meat or mud on it, and there will be a lot of earthworms the next day. Or squeeze one earthworm into two, and get the second one to get two earthworms. Whatever the reason, this pot of earthworms got special treatment. They were placed outside the flame monkey's residence, which was very close to the spring. Chen Mo reckoned that it was because of this that the pot of earthworms mutated so drastically. Devouring more than half of the earthworms is still 5% short of collecting all the genes of the mutant earthworms. No way, this thing is not big. Chen Mo has not yet completed the evolutionary clues, efficient absorption, and the efficiency of mycelium plundering genes is still very low. The remaining earthworms are just right to devour. But Chen Mo didn't dare to make a move. If you do it again, it will be gone. You have to keep it for them to reproduce. It should be more than that. Chen Mo looked at the surrounding environment. The soil here is loose, and there are a lot of domestic garbage from monkeys. The soil is quite fertile. Under Chen Mo's order, the chariot began to dig the turf and chew the roots. Dig holes everywhere, looking for earthworms to eat. This is the old line of the chariot. Hum hum. While humming, the chariot made another hole with its sharp fangs and leathery mouth. Sure enough, an earthworm was inside. But not mutant earthworms. But Chen Mo laughed, his guess was right. According to the probability of mutation among species, there must be a lot of mutated earthworms in this area. Sure enough, like a bulldozer, the chariot plowed all the way, and suddenly a large number of earthworms were turned out. Some of the earthworms were pushed into two pieces, and immediately separated, trying to escape. Mutated earthworm gene in hand. Information: through the comparison between ordinary earthworms and mutant earthworms, your understanding of mutant creatures has deepened, and your knowledge of psionic effects and organic species has increased. Psionic knowledge +1, carbon-based organisms +1. More mutated earthworms were picked up by the chief and thrown into the basin. These mutated earthworms will be stocked by Chen Mo in every spring he occupies. Yes, Chen Mo discovered that these mutated earthworms can also store psionic energy. Although not as powerful as other mutant animals. But no matter how small the mosquito legs are, they are still meat. More or less, it can improve part of Chen Mo's utilization efficiency of the spring. Intercept more psionic energy. With the mutated earthworm, the number of evolution points Chen Mo can get from the spring will increase from 1 point to 1.1 points. Of course, Chen Mo intercepted more psionic energy, which meant that less psionic energy was diffused. This will indirectly reduce the number of mutated creatures around, making it more difficult for humans to detect abnormalities. It's an added benefit. In the tropics, in the country of monkeys, in a huge dark forest. A forest of mushrooms slowly rises. If humans come, they will be shocked, because the growth method of this mushroom forest is so normal. It's like a pair of invisible big hands, arranging the position where they grow. In the middle of the neat array of mushrooms is a huge mushroom that looks like a house. At its center, there is a spring invisible to the naked eye. Mycelia and mutated earthworms in captivity are spreading in the dark underground. Looking at the mushroom forest he built, Chen Mo felt proud. Although this design seems to have very strong artificial traces, it can cut off more psionic energy. This first spring in the tropics has been completely occupied by Chen Mo. Started to provide him with evolution points continuously. The next step is to traverse the entire monkey country and then reach the coastline. Along the coastline, it expands continuously near the equator. Chen Mo already has a general plan. first to complete the genetic breakthrough in the tropical area with the lowest adaptability requirements. Then with stronger adaptability, it swept across the temperate zone, and then 2 levels. At that time, Chen Mo believes that the conflict with human beings will no longer be a conflict. A creature embedded in the natural system of the entire planet is not just a level 1 civilization, it can be done. It's like the whole world is full of viruses, but humans can't handle it at all. At that time, even if Chen Mo was discovered, human beings would not be able to do anything to him, unless the entire planet was cleaned with nuclear bombs, and every corner had to be cleaned. The first goal is to become a planet-level creature. Chen Mo said confidently. He is not too arrogant, but a conclusion drawn after careful analysis. When it expands to a certain extent and occupies more than 10% of the planet's area, the spread will be unstoppable. At this time, it is no longer possible to be eliminated by physical means and genetic means. Engaging in genetic viruses. This is simply food delivery. However, there is still some distance from the goal of 10%. Chen Mo estimates a little bit. He currently occupies part of temperate zone, subtropical zone and a small part of tropical zone. This part of the area accounts for only 0.5% of the surface area of the Earth. Roughly 0.1% increase per day. Of course, after fully entering the tropics, this growth rate will suddenly accelerate. If it is not afraid of attracting human attention, this expansion will be exponential. It has to be developed in a low-key manner. Before the adaptability is higher than 20, it is best not to be discovered. Have to continue to evolve. Continuous evolution is king. Thinking of this, Chen Mo opened the properties panel. During this period of time, he has gained a lot. Open black lens bracket race close black lens bracket, mutated mushroom. Evolution point 36. Gene bank 100% mutant earthworms, 100% mutant monkeys, 100% mutant humans. Available genes: hallucination, corruption X, metal type 4, cavity structure, toxin, nerve, regeneration. Research bonus: carbon-based creatures plus 304, psionic knowledge plus 13. Organ properties panel. Mutated mycelium, the nutrient absorption efficiency is 1.6. Spores adaptability is 5.8. Ordinary seeds, but the strong diffusion ability and huge number greatly enhance your survival rate. Cap after maturity, the spores can be produced. The number of each batch is 4-5 billion. The production cycle is 380 minutes per cycle, which requires a large amount of nutrients. Overall evaluation, the danger level is 2.6. You have exceeded the danger level of ordinary creatures by 2 points. You are developing towards an extremely dangerous global creature. Your existence itself is a huge threat to the ecological environment. Evolution clue: efficient absorption. You need the knowledge reserve support of plus 1000 carbon-based organisms, supported by more powerful, toxin and metal genes. Current progress 40%. 36 evolution points, which can be reorganized and evolved again. This time Chen Mo is going to evolve the regenerative gene first. This gene is very important. As a species that wins by quantity, Chen Mo even believes that the significance of regeneration is far greater than individual strength. He doesn't judge heroes by unit combat power, and even, he doesn't need much combat power at all, only needs strong enough adaptability. Combat ability is just a byproduct of the genetic research upgrade process. Just like human beings, their combat power is just a byproduct of wisdom growth and scientific research. Chen Mo needs a faster growth rate, stronger recovery ability, and extremely terrifying adaptability. Thankfully, these properties are currently growing. The growth cycle of the spores has been shortened from the initial 8 hours to the current 380 minutes. This also means that the expansion period of Chen Mo and the reloading time of the spore cannon are also shortened simultaneously. What if it is reduced to 1 minute? Even, for a few seconds. That spore cannon will become a cannon. Expands every few seconds. Hiss. Just thinking about it, Chen Mo felt extremely terrifying. This growth rate was enough for him to expand to the whole world within a few days. Of course, this is without considering adaptability. No matter how fast the growth rate is, it also depends on whether it can adapt to the environment. Therefore, the first important characteristic is adaptability, and the second is growth speed. The latter is directly related to regenerative genes. Evolutionary regeneration genes. This will not only increase the growth rate, further reduce the spore preparation time, but also improve the performance of the spore cannon. With a thought of Chen Mo, a glowing evolutionary tree appeared in front of his eyes. Now his evolutionary tree has grown a lot compared to when it first started. It can be said that the branches and leaves are scattered. With a little civilization technology tree look. Among the 7 branches, the shortest one is the regenerative gene. Warning: you are trying to use evolution points to recombine and evolve the regeneration gene, which may increase cell activity and increase energy consumption in exchange for a higher growth rate. 99.98% probability. It is worth noting that the operation may lead to unknown consequences. 0.01% probability. Please choose carefully. Chen Mo invested 10 evolution points for the first restructuring evolution. Information: the regeneration gene has been recombined and evolved, and you have obtained the regeneration type 2 feet gene. With its support, the cell division speed is accelerated. On the macro level, it is characterized by rapid growth, and at the same time, the wound tissue can also be rapidly healed. Fixed: thanks to increased regeneration speed, you can expand faster. Spore cannon range has been improved. Adaptability plus 0.2, danger plus 0.2. The regenerative gene is really powerful. Chen Mo suddenly felt that these 10 points of evolution were not in vain. However, if you continue to evolve, you need to invest 20 evolution points. Chen Mo currently has only 16 points left. After thinking about it, he simply invested another 10 evolutionary points in the toxin gene. Acquired the toxin type 2 feet gene. At the same time, the progress of evolutionary clues, efficient absorption, has increased by 5%, and the degree of completion has reached 45%. Almost halfway there. Now Chen Mo's carbon-based biological knowledge reserves are more than 300, but the efficient absorption of clues is nearly half completed. This is entirely because on the 2 evolutionary branches of metal and toxin, Chen Mo is about to reach his goal. It is estimated that all of them have reached type 5 genes, and then the carbon-based biological knowledge has been raised to 1000 to meet the research requirements. Chen Mo carefully analyzed the current task progress, and then made a judgment. In other words, this task, which seemed very difficult at the beginning, is now only a matter of time. Evolution points and carbon-based biological knowledge can be obtained stably as it expands. Thinking of this, Chen Mo couldn't help feeling emotional. Back then, he was just a small mushroom, a living creature could come up to bully him, but in just over a month, the whole situation has undergone a major reversal. He is already marching toward a planet-level creature. A week later, Chen Mo finally expanded to an uninhabited coastline. He has already reached the end of the first step of the plan, which is near the equator. The next task is to expand along the coastline to the entire tropics, and across the ocean. Chen Mo doesn't need to worry about the first point, just let the spores spread, he just needs to control the speed and pay attention to avoiding the human cities. The second point, crossing the ocean, is a little troublesome. The sea breeze blows towards the land, so Chen Mo's spores cannot float over anyway. It is a small island only 10 kilometers away from the sea, and Chen Mo does not occupy it. Without the ability to actively fly, it's just such a pain. But it's not good if you don't go to that small island, there is a spring on it. This area itself is in an economically underdeveloped area with few human activities, so Chen Mo reserved the springs near 393 for his own use. In addition to the springs on this island, the Hawaiian Islands are farther away, that is, starting from the island not far away, a long series of islands form an island chain. There are 5 or 6 springs scattered on it one after another. These are all Chen Mo left for himself. This area is also completely located in the tropics, part of which is directly on the equator, and far away from humans, and the environment is very suitable for Chen Mo to experiment with various strange weapons. His original plan was to float over the islands one by one along the sea breeze. But the impact of the monsoon was not predicted, and there will be no strong winds blowing along the island chain for several months. I have to think of a way. Chen Mo looked around carefully. Just at this time, a white seabird flew over from the sea. Croak croak. With a cry, the seabird flapped its wings and landed next to the mushroom. It's curious, what is this thing? Why all of a sudden, this strange thing appeared on the beach? Shaking 3 times, Yinyao came over. Don't wait for it to get close. Boom! A spore cannon directly hit its face. The big bird fell straight down. Immediately afterwards, a strange scene happened. If this scene is discovered by humans, it must be horrifying, and it will scare the urine directly. Not long after, the seabird got up again, but it didn't go away, but just stood there blankly. And next to it, brand new mushrooms are growing. After 380 minutes, a fist-sized mushroom was lifted up slowly by countless entangled and wriggling hyphae. Like some kind of weird seed. The seabird opened its huge mouth without hesitation, picked up the mushroom, then flapped its wings violently, took off, and flew towards the island not far away. With the expansion of the mushroom community, Chen Mo's consciousness is already very large, so now he doesn't need to make wounds, and can temporarily control some animals by virtue of the hallucinogenic effect of the spores. The seabird quickly landed on the island under Chen Mo's control, found a suitable place in the woods, and then planted the mushrooms in the soil. The next day, the entire island was already covered with all kinds of mushrooms. Especially around the spring, it has been occupied by the emperor's mushrooms. To Chen Mo's surprise, there is also a seabird here, trying to occupy this place and use it as a nest. Obviously it has benefited from it. Therefore, he was reluctant to leave and prepared to stay here for a long time. Chen Mo originally planned to ignore the seabird and let it build a nest on the mushroom. Unexpectedly, this seabird was so exclusive, it turned out to be a strong wind, and the surrounding mushrooms were blown away by it. A strange racial talent, but Chen Mo is not something it can afford. Soon, the seabird was buried on the island by the spore cannon, turning into some evolution points and nutrients. For this weak mutant creature, Chen Mo basically adopts a symbiotic attitude for the purpose of maintaining genetic diversity, CACD. Let them grow. After all, if there are not many of them, there is no benefit at all. Even if they swallow them all, it is very likely that they will not be able to extract even a single contribution point. What Chen Mo needs is a powerful creature with a very high degree of mutation. Weak mutant creatures may become stronger and can be raised first. Moreover, Chen Mo's evolutionary clues, efficient absorption, has completed more than 50%, and by then the stronger gene plundering ability will be enough for him to obtain genes without killing animals. The goal of occupying the island chain was carried out for one day. Chen Mo advanced listed kilometers. With the help of seabirds, Chen Mo spread to more than a dozen islands. But the next part of the journey suddenly became difficult. Chen Mo tried twice but ended in failure. For the first time, it is about to land. The seabird he manipulated was killed by a huge mutant bird, the mushroom fell into the sea, and the mission failed. The second time, not long after he took off, he encountered a storm and the mission failed again. There are 2 springs that are not far apart on the island of Hawaii, which is what Chen Mo must get. So Chen Mo continued to wait for the opportunity. According to the data inquired from Lu Ru, this is the prelude to a tornado. In the next week, Chen Mo will not have any good chance to fly across the island chain. So Chen Mo turned his attention to the expansion front in the tropical forest. In the dense forest here, all kinds of flora and fauna are exuberantly lush. There were few traces of human beings in the first place, and now they can't be found at all. Compared with the area of the river crab country, there are not even helicopters in the sky here. Far away from the sphere of influence of a powerful country, no one cares about what happened in the forest here. Chen Mo can expand without restraint. Of course, this is the same for other mutated animals. Soon, Chen Mo encountered a group of rats expanding unscrupulously. A group of mutant rats. They eat everything and expand like crazy. Chen Mo didn't know their number, but judging from the speed at which his mushroom forest was wiped out, there were at least tens of thousands of rats in the vanguard. That doesn't sound like much, but what if each one was the size of a human head? Red eyes, mouth full of sharp fangs, hair as hard as bark, and what's more frightening is that their adaptability is extremely terrifying. These mushrooms of Chen Mo, ordinary animals will die immediately after eating them, but this group of mice like to eat them very much. Crunchy and crispy, very fragrant and delicious. Controlling the bird to fly across the sky, Chen Mo observed it. Immediately startled, this group of mutated rats has expanded to an area of more than 50 square kilometers. There are several huge raised nests in the middle, like graves, and a large number of young rats are also growing rapidly with sufficient food supply. And the largest, huge grave, there are a steady stream of young rats in it, which are being transported out. Obviously, there is one of the most primitive mutant mice in it. At this moment, he should have become the queen of the rat. Roar! A ferocious mutated pangolin crawled out of the burrow. Apparently, it was irritated by these nasty rats. Then the next moment, it started to fear. Because the mice were not afraid. Mice are actually a kind of cowardly creature. A mouse is very timid, but when the number reaches a certain level, they will become extremely crazy. There is nothing they dare not do. In an instant, a mouse pounced on it. Crazy bite. The pangolin armor was extremely hard, comparable to metal. Its fierce counterattack tore apart a dozen mice in an instant. But in a blink of an eye, it was overwhelmed by rats. Chen Mo could only see a large circle of mice, piled up into a ball. When the mice dispersed, only a pile of bones remained in place. The bones are being eaten away. These rats frantically forage for anything they can eat. Wherever it passes, there is only bare ground. The number of Chen Mo's mushrooms is extremely unpalatable, and it's uncomfortable to eat too much, but they still don't want to let it go. This is what Chen Mo did not expect. He would be wiped out by a large number of stars in the forest. However, this loss is not worth mentioning to him who has spread to nearly 1% of the global surface area. However, Chen Mo was very interested in the strong resistance shown by this group of mice, as well as the highly mutated queen mouse. Chen Mo wants to obtain all the genetic samples of this group of mice. After a little evaluation, Chen Mo estimated that relying on his own ability, it would take a lot of time. The last time he fought with the monkey, he had no choice but to occupy the spring. But this time is different. All Chen Mo needs is the dead body of the mouse. Therefore, he intends to find another way. Turning his sight, he came to a coastline. This is the expansion frontier of mushrooms in the tropics. There are many species around here, but the trouble is that this is also an area where human activities are very frequent. Human figures are everywhere. This neighborhood belongs to the capital of the monkey country, and is now one of the 3 major human gathering places in the monkey country. Usually Chen Mo does not come into human vision. But this time, he needs some tool people. So the mushrooms began to spread and expanded to the vicinity of the city. For a new mushroom, it was still growing one by one, which was very eye-catching. Scientists came to investigate immediately. However, the result of their investigation is that the problem is not big. There is no toxicity, but the growth rate is slightly abnormal. Needs attention, but no fuss. However, we haven't checked the situation in the forest for a long time, and we are afraid that there will be new changes. Some scientists suddenly came up with this idea, and they were very worried. They are one of the few scientists in the monkey country, and each of them is now a treasure. Surrounded by a large number of soldiers to protect. Hearing this, a soldier immediately suggested, "Sir, should we send a helicopter to check it out?" The military often dealt with the issue of mutated creatures, and when they heard this, they were also very nervous. For now, the forest is too dangerous. I'll write a report first and ask Professor Lu Ru. She has the authority to use reconnaissance satellites and a lot of resources. Now the country of monkeys has turned to the country of river crabs, especially in the scientific community. Without the support of the crab country, it would be difficult for the entire monkey country to survive at this time. Various research equipment of the scientists, including the psionic mushrooms in several springs, are provided by the river crab country, and most of the research facilities are also controlled by the river crab country. They occupy 2/3 of the usage authority of Kuanyin. Therefore, when scientists encounter new research leads or troubles, they always go to their immediate superiors, that is, the people in charge of several springs in the territory. Lu Ru has been here once, and will also ask these people to provide some mutation samples. Therefore, it is considered that these monkey country scientists can climb up to the highest status. When the soldier heard this, he suddenly smiled. It would be great if Professor Lu would stand up for them. This person's reputation is in full swing, and he is the top scientist in the world. She has a lot of resources and contacts in her hands. If she can get this person's approval, their situation will definitely improve. In this way, a well-written research report was delivered to Lu Ru 2 days later. Chen Mo operated patiently. His original plan was to get the attention of the Monkey Kingdom and get rid of the group of rats. But on second thought, now that things have been done, why not make it bigger? Coincidentally, there is also a global conference about to be held on Lu Ru's side. So Chen Mo had a thought, which made the scientist think of asking Lu Ru for help. The next step is to wait for the meeting to be held. A fuse is needed, but Chen Mo continued to be cautious. Every time he expanded to a new area or environment, he would slightly modify the shape of the mushrooms so that they did not look like a type of mushroom. This is completely different from his hideous image in the dense forest. Of course, Chen Mo did this just in case. There is a high probability that no scientist will conduct a global investigation. It is impossible to find the same mushroom, which is expanding globally. After all, so far, the global changes have reached a very intense level, and sea areas, mountains and rivers have isolated most of the human beings. Except for a few big countries, the rest of the small countries have lost contact with each other. All kinds of mutant beasts and sea monsters emerge endlessly. A country without industry is already on the verge of collapse at this time, or in other words, it has already collapsed. A new force headed by supernatural beings has been formed. For them, at this moment, it is a doomsday disaster. However, in big countries, this trend has been completely contained. The powerful mechanized weapons of human beings are fully reflected in big countries. They even started to clean up large areas of forest in a planned way. Prevent forest overgrowth. At the same time, the development of blockers that are more effective and even remain in the soil permanently. It's actually a herbicide. However, this blocking agent is more perverted. It will hardly be decomposed by nature, but it will continue to take effect in an area. This effectively stops the expansion of the plant. At the same time, the plan to kill all kinds of powerful monsters was also put on the agenda. That kind of monster hides in the forest, develops wretchedly, and can wantonly kill the human beings who come here. It is completely impossible to happen. Horrific bombers and pesticides can turn an entire forest into a dead zone within a day. Once a monster with a tendency to fight against humans is discovered, humans will immediately attack with a heavy fist, and a single terrifying blockbuster can raze an area with a radius of 500 or 600 meters to the ground. Ground-penetrating bombs can penetrate reinforced concrete structures more than 10 meters thick. What's more, humans don't need to find out at all, as long as there is that sign, or just suspect that there is some kind of strange creature. For example, a strange thick fog has appeared in a certain area, and humans cannot enter. At this time, 100% attracted a big bombing. Horrific incendiary bombs can directly cover tens of hundreds of square kilometers. Basically a scorched earth strategy. Under such circumstances, although humans also suffered huge losses, they were different from mutated monsters. A mutated monster had been grown for at least several months and was able to take shape with great luck. And bombers and missiles are as fast as making sausages during wartime. Even if a powerful mutant monster can destroy a war machine 10 times larger than human beings, it will not help. Unless there are monsters smart enough to destroy human minds and arsenals. But such a monster obviously does not exist. No, there should be one, but he has no time to help those poor mutant creatures. At this moment, Chen Mo is busy with a meeting. He is different from those low-level monsters. He is well-dressed, high above the temple, and penetrated into the human body. To be precise, it was Lu Ru who was in a meeting. A meeting to discuss extermination of monsters that could threaten humanity's status. Lu Ru is in the laboratory, participating in this teleconference. All major countries are involved. As the top scientist, Lu Ru is an important member of the River Crab Countries Technical Advisory Group. The opinions she provided will also become opinions that global policymakers must carefully consider. After all, this is a scientific issue, not just a political issue. When it comes to technology, it is natural that scientists hold the right to speak. The meeting had been notified long ago, so Lu Ru had already written the speech manuscript. As a representative of scientists, she will make a report to the world's major leaders. Therefore, it is necessary to deploy a global force for unified dispatch, and strive to curb this bad trend. The number of all wisdom groups must be effectively controlled. Cancer species that are out of control must be eliminated most resolutely and thoroughly. Quote, Lu Ru talked eloquently, and there was no trace of tension on her beautiful face without makeup. The above is the full content of my report. Thank you experts and heads of state for your invitation. End of report. The entire conference network was silent. Even through the screen, you can feel the shock of the entire meeting room. All the participating minds, all fell silent. Originally, because of Lu Ru's youthful and beautiful appearance, some staff members looked down upon her, but this was a 180-degree turn. At this moment, it is almost the rebirth of the goddess of wisdom. Crazy. It's crazy. Could something like this really happen? The mutated creatures evolved so fast. The influence of spiritual energy is not only at the genetic level. If this is the case, then mankind is about to face the most severe challenge since it stepped out of the African Grand Canyon. Members of many think tanks began to whisper to each other, then discuss this matter, and then handed over the final result to the leaders. Professor Liu believes that some species will produce social formations and form a primary social form, just like humans did at the beginning, and this process will be extremely fast. There are also some species that, like cancerous growths, expand crazily around and squeeze the living space of other species, which is a manifestation of the loss of control of the natural environment. Both will be right. Professor Liu, your point of view is very important and shocking, and I feel disturbed. It's just that in the report, only part of the evidence is shown, which is not convincing enough. I wonder if there is more direct evidence to support it. Under the suggestion of his own science and technology advisor, the ugly president asked. We must treat this possibility with caution, but now that global resources are tight, the establishment of a special action team again will put enormous pressure on all countries, and we need more convincing evidence. The head of Turkey country expressed his views cautiously. I want to know the attitude of the river crab country towards this matter. This kind of large-scale investigation should have received a lot of support. The leader of the baboon country said. Of course there is evidence, but it's really hard to show in the report. Facing the inquiries from various countries, Lu Ru had a flash of inspiration in her mind, smiled slightly, and said. Everyone, please look at the next screen. With a bang, the screen switched to a battle perspective. Horror rats with fangs, huge graves, like an arsenal. The young rats transported out were taken care of with fear of food. The picture rises, and in the entire area, there are only bare rocks and tree trunks that are really dry and hard to swallow. Hiss. Suddenly, there was a gasp in the entire venue. Lu Ru's voice came from outside the video. Since I got the report from Monkey Country, I immediately mobilized resources to conduct an in-depth investigation on the ecological environment and species in that area. The Special Forces of Psychers also urgently accepted my entrustment. They went deep into the forest and verified my guess. And brought back a large number of biological samples, as well as image data. Of course, this is not the most shocking thing. We also found some species with a higher degree of socialization. As soon as the screen turned, a small village appeared in the video. Suddenly, there was an exclamation from the audience. This turned out to be a monkey. The monkeys have formed a village. Looks like it's been a while since living here. It's scary. If the group of rats just now was planetary cancer, these monkeys directly stimulated the sensitive nerves of human beings. Being an intelligent creature, humans can barely accept it. This kind of social intelligent species that is perfect and teamed up is absolutely intolerable. These pictures, of course, are provided by Chen Mo. To be precise, it was led by Chen Mo to let humans discover it. There is more than one tribe of monkeys. Chen Mo deliberately searched for a representative, let people discover. As for mutant mice, that would be too conspicuous. They are not small villages, but entire forests are being wiped out. This can be clearly seen at a glance on the satellite map. As long as a caring person searches carefully, he can find it. And this caring person is Lu Ru. Professor Lu Ru, your discovery deserves to be remembered by the whole world. On behalf of all citizens, I would like to express my gratitude to you. The ugly president has spoken. His complexion was extremely dignified, and at the same time, he was extremely fortunate. Fortunately, there are such scientists. Nowadays, not many people are willing to go deep into the jungle to investigate, which makes their news very backward. It's time to change this situation. I propose to create a global joint team immediately. These intelligent communities must be strictly controlled in number. The president of the river crab country took the opportunity to say, "I agree. Agree. I, Baboon Nation, agree." At this time, the ugly president suddenly said, "In view of Professor Lu Ru's outstanding contribution in the field of psychic energy, I propose that this global team, with Lu Ru as the chief scientist, be responsible for technical matters." They were showing their favor to Lu Ru. After all, the achievements of Lu Ru today are too dazzling. And this position, if someone else is allowed to come, I am afraid that it will not be able to convince the public. I think this is also the purpose of the river crab country. He just happened to be a favor. Ugly country is currently lagging behind in the field of psychic energy. If Lu Ru has a good impression, he can more or less win some right to speak in that joint organization. Other countries also responded one after another. We also support Professor Lu. Naturally, those who are capable, we also support Professor Lu. I hope that Professor Lu will continue to work for the well-being of mankind. The meeting was discussed for 3 hours. During this time, these two sets of images spread wildly among the upper echelons of all countries. In the evening, the meeting is closed. The news is announced. Form a global rapid response force, led by Hexy Country and Ugly Country. Lu Ru was appointed as the chief scientist of the response force. The news spread all over the world in an instant. Lu Ru's role in this incident was exposed. For a while, the media went crazy. Countless people want to come up to visit. The world's first armed force against mutant beasts. Global Unified Dispatch. And Lu Ru is the chief scientist. She is directly responsible for assessing which areas mutant beasts may cause harm. Countless small countries have spent their wealth and sent people to Shanghai City. The reason is to be able to meet Lu Ru. As long as she can nod, the mutated animals in her country can be cleaned up. This is a power that is not very important for big countries, but for small countries, it can directly determine their life and death. But just when countless people were crying and shouting, frantically dating, and wanting to see Lu Ru, she turned off the computer and turned off the phone. Went for a comfortable bath. Looking at herself in the mirror, Lu Ru was slightly dazed. Countless honors, countless money and rights, she can feel it now. It is frantically rushing towards her. Taking a deep breath, she calmed down. All this, even for a person like her who can endure the hard work in the laboratory, is somewhat irresistible. But she knows that desire is the greatest enemy. She needs to keep a cool, clear head. Involuntarily, she could still recall all this. Speaking of which, her glorious starting point began with that daring inspection of Jingyu Town. I don't know what happened to that basin now. If there is a chance, I hope to go back and have a look. Lu Ru murmured, stretching out her hand to gently stroke her smooth skin. On the side, Chen Mo couldn't help laughing when he heard this. If Lu Ru really came to the basin, he might think that he had traveled to another world, right? There, it already completely belongs to Chen Mo's private kingdom. Now, with Lu Ru, the top figure in hand, Chen Mo can even cover up the basin. Even the basin is only an hour's drive from Jingyu Town. However, human beings just didn't find that huge changes had taken place there. There are 3 springs inside. This is the area with the densest springs known to Chen Mo except for Hawaii Island. This makes the concentration of aura in the basin extremely high. This kind of environment is impossible to obtain with a single spring. Belongs to the unique. According to the words of fantasy, it is equivalent to a cave of heaven and earth. Therefore, in order to keep these 3 springs, Chen Mo has spent a lot of thought. But even so, the surrounding mutations are becoming more and more serious, and even the trees are becoming more and more mutated. Fortunately, it is located in the basin, and the trees more than 200 meters away are not easy to attract the attention of others. Soon, under the cue of Chen Mo, Lu Ru went to bed. Chen Mo controlled her and turned on the computer. Several areas were carefully selected. These areas will be the first test grounds for humans to conduct a planned mass extinction of abnormal creatures. That swarm of rats stood out. After doing all this, Chen Mo calmed Liaku's spirit very skillfully. Let it sleep more soundly and have a sweet dream. It's a little reward. After all, Chen Mo has now reaped huge rewards for cultivating this woman to the top. Early the next morning, a terrifying roar sounded in the sky above the tropical rainforest. Humanity can't wait. Headed by several major countries, bombers entered the monkey country's airport overnight. Throughout the night, there was the roar of war machines. In order to get a better view of the bombing and carefully observe the bombing effect, humans set the bombing time during the day. After consulting Lu Ru again, the bomber fleet took off. Chen Mo got the news right away, and observed the movements of human beings through the mushrooms growing on the canopy. Sure enough, the first target was the mutated mouse. It is really their behavior that is too appalling, reminiscent of a certain species that only exists in fantasy, the Zerg. This kind of creature, under Chen Mo's suggestion, Lu Ru gave them the title of cancer species. Means like cancer, aimless. Spread all over the world, regardless of the consequences. You can tell just by the name, how scary and evil a species like cancer is. Once this kind of name was launched, it became very popular among humans, and it was full of vigilance, which could easily trigger hostile behaviors of humans. The ethnic groups listed as cancer species are all key targets for destruction. There are dozens of special forces operating together. They will be responsible for catching some monkeys and mice. These samples will be sent to the nearest monkey country, a laboratory run by Professor Lu Ru. Of course, Chen Mo does not need laboratory data. He just waits for the human action to end, and then easily gets what he needs. This is the benefit of being low-key. Chen Mo secretly guides human beings to help him gain benefits. Mutant mice are just the first. More powerful mutated creatures, as long as Chen Mo is willing, they will all be listed as human attack targets. The terrifying blockbuster is not something that mutant mice can understand. After a wave of bombing, the rats were almost wiped out. Humans sent ground troops and began to capture them. Their targets naturally include the queen of rats. But the queen of the rat was at the very center of the bombing, so she was already dead. Flesh flew everywhere. After the humans left, not long after, a flying bird wobbled and fell headlong into the flesh and blood minister. Then there is mycelium spreading. Event: you absorbed the flesh and blood of the mutated mouse, obtained 100% of the genes of the mutated mouse, and you extracted usable genes from it, and you integrated these genes into your own. Your body genetic map, your regeneration gene, has been partially enhanced, your cell reproduction speed is accelerated, which can accelerate your growth, and at the same time provide partial drug resistance, based on this. Your adaptability plus 0.5. Information: through the comparison of the genes of the mutated mice, your understanding of mutated creatures has deepened, and your understanding of genetic changes caused by spiritual energy has deepened. Discovered a brand new species evolution model. Gestalt thinking: your knowledge of psionic effects and organic species has increased. Psionic knowledge plus 2, carbon-based organisms plus 10, format. Tower thinking plus 1, 0. Evolution clue: heart of the swarm. Through the analysis of mutant rat colonies, mutant ant colonies, and human races, you are keenly aware that there are significant differences among the three. Especially the mutated ant colony and the human race are at two extremes. Their evolutionary methods and individual behaviors are all very different. At the same time, the emergence of the intermediate group of mutant mice makes you further confirm this understanding. This is a brand new evolutionary model emerged, and a possible evolutionary path appeared. Carbon-based creatures plus 10000, psionic knowledge plus 50, gestalt thinking plus 10, will allow you to enter. Explore its mysteries one step at a time. Hiss. Chen Mo pondered over this new evolutionary clue carefully, and he was shocked. The request is so perverted. The carbon-based biological knowledge reserve actually needs 10,000. However, I don't necessarily need to complete this research. After all, I haven't fully expanded the evolutionary tree, so I can't determine the optimal choice. Chen Mo murmured. The trunk of his evolutionary tree has not yet been determined, and it is in the stage of exploration at this time. There are tens of thousands of evolutionary paths, and how he takes it in the end still depends on himself, but the more he knows, the more choices he will have. Evolution lead, heart of the swarm, would be an option. This choice requires a study of Gestalt thinking. This should be a way of thinking of collective will, but it is similar to my current state, but the queen is obviously more suitable for this condition, she may be very suitable for this evolution. Way. Thinking of this, Chen Mo couldn't help but smile, and if he had a chance, he could try it with the queen. This wave of using human beings not only wiped out the potential threatening rival rat group, but also reaped huge gains. Chen Mo tasted the sweetness and began to pay close attention to Lu Ru's office. It turns out that every few days, or if he needs it, the regiment will go there. Now, every night, he has to go there. The purpose is to understand the target location of the human special operations team. If Chen Mo occupies the area, he will prepare mushrooms in advance. Humans are frantically harvesting the lives of mutant beasts. What they don't know is that every time they leave, mushrooms grow and harvest precious genes. Another huge monster crashed down. Boom! Blood splashed hundreds of meters high. This is a huge mutant elephant, located in the jungle of Monkey Country. Chen Mo wanted to occupy a spring, but was blocked by a herd of elephants. Elephants have rough skin and thick flesh, and are very smart. Chen Mo was too lazy to waste time with them. Directly designate this area as an abnormal area. Soon, human fighter planes flew by. Several huge monsters on the thermal imager quickly caught Lu Ru's attention. After thinking for a while, she decided to hunt the elephants. Looking at the brand new genetic map, Chen Mo smiled. A day later, a mushroom forest will also be established here. Another spring was in his pocket. The killing continued. The mutant beasts who liked to stand out and interfere with Chen Mo's actions were all killed. In a blink of an eye, a week passed. Chen Mo's evolution clues, efficient absorption, has completed 80% of the research progress. The typhoon by the sea has already blown across the island chain and is moving inland. Chen Mo's plan to occupy the island of Hawaii in the middle of the ocean can start again. There are 2 springs there. Apart from Chen Mo's base camp, it is one of the most high-quality psionic areas in the world. More importantly, this place is far away from any human kingdom. Surrounded by sea, fighters have to fly for tens of minutes to the nearest land. Perfect for Chen Mo to carry out some massive weapons experimentation. Boom, bang bang bang, strange noises exploded on an island. Very dense. At first glance, it sounds like some kind of dense fireworks or firecrackers. But if someone is here, they will definitely open their mouths in surprise. Because it was a group of mushrooms, all of them grew into a slanted shape, as if they could not be broken back after being blown by the sea wind. The mushroom cap has holes that pop and squirt dense sporangia. Then it exploded in the air. A curious bird flying over the sky was instantly hit by the extremely dense sporangia. Boom! It fell down heavily and smashed a few mushrooms. Good range. Chen Mo smiled lightly. With the support of the regenerative gene, Chen Mo's cell strength has been raised to a new height, and the spore cannon can reach a distance of 200 meters at this time. If it is thrown, it will be farther. Of course, the power of this cavity structure has basically reached its limit. If you want to hit further, you have to think of some other ways. After occupying the spring in Hawaii Island, I can have a good experiment. Chen Mo looked at the big white bird that stood up unsteadily in front of him, and said very satisfied. This time, he planned to skip the island in the middle first, occupy the island of Hawaii in one step, use it as a base, and then spread around. Chen Mo controlled the seabird, flew very high, and carefully avoided the island with the mutant bird. He looked down and saw that the big bird was already very terrifying, with a wingspan of more than 10 meters. And dare to fight with the giant beasts in the water and compete for food from their mouths. It's a ruthless character. Flying to the largest Hawaiian island, 047, Chen Mo was taken aback for a moment. Here, the blood of the fighting has flowed into rivers. Is a sea monster. Many sea monsters compete for the spring here. Although they can't perceive spiritual energy, some sea monsters must have become stronger because of this at first, so they fought internally and the smell of blood spread. There are also the corpses of the losers, which are also rich in spiritual energy. Therefore, it attracts more sea monsters in an endless stream. Continue to fight, more corpses. There is also psychic energy in the corpse. And devouring the corpse with spiritual power, the sea monster became more powerful. Even more reluctant to leave. So the competition here is fierce. On the surface, it seems that they are competing for flesh and blood rich in psionic energy, but the fundamental reason is because of 2 springs that are very close together. The concentration of psionic energy here is very high. Chen Mo also joined the competition without hesitation. Boom! The big bird passed by at a low altitude and was thrown at the southernmost tip of the island. The place where the sea monsters fight is in the middle of the Hawaiian island. Half a day later, a mushroom community was formed. A day later, the mushroom colony had grown into a mushroom forest. Chen Mo began to spread towards the spring, and at the same time, the spore cannon began to bombard. The range of 200 meters is enough to give these sea monsters a fatal blow. But at the beginning, it wasn't very powerful. Not lethal enough. First of all, sea monsters have a relatively high degree of mutation, and their various resistances are quite good. Secondly, most sea monsters don't breathe with lungs. It's not the same as terrestrial creatures. They all fought on the ground holding their breath, and they didn't breathe until they were in the water. Therefore, the highly toxic spore powder cannot be inhaled by them. And many of them can spray water, and the fight also makes the surrounding water splash. Chen Mo can't make the spore powder form a poisonous mist. However, as Chen Mo killed more sea monsters, his lethality against sea monsters began to increase gradually. The more you know, the more lethal you are. Information: your gene bank data has been updated, and you have obtained 100% completeness of the mutated hairtail gene. By analyzing the genes, your understanding of the hairtail has deepened, and the efficiency of various actions for the hairtail has increased by 100%. Information: your gene bank data has been updated, and you have obtained 100% completeness of the mutated swordfish gene. By analyzing the genes, your understanding of swordfish has deepened, and the efficiency of various actions for swordfish has increased by 100%. These marine mutated creatures are all developing towards a huge size, so Chen Mo can easily get enough flesh and blood to obtain a complete genetic map. Chen Mo's toxin has more than 300% restraint on all organic organisms. If the complete genetic map of that creature is obtained, this restraint can be increased by 100%. Therefore, although Chen Mo's toxin is very weak, to some animals, it is already very terrifying, no less than highly poisonous. After a day of bombing, looting genes, Chen Mo obtained a large number of genetic maps, and at the same time, his spiritual knowledge also increased. At this time, Chen Mo's position also came to a position very close to the spring. Some violent sea monsters also started to attack the mushrooms. But the ground is full of flesh and blood, and the mushrooms grow too fast. Chen Mo is manipulating a mushroom cannon with a height of 50 meters, and is bombarding wildly. The spore cannon on this mushroom can be fired to a distance of 300 meters. When the shell goes down, the ground immediately makes a chi-chi sound. Those are corrosion spores. The ground will be corroded to produce a lot of nutrients, and after half a day, a piece of mushroom will grow there. If the bombed monster is not washed in seawater, it will also be covered with mycelium. However, this possibility is unlikely, because the salt concentration on the sea monsters is too high, and the environment is very harsh for the spores. So Chen Mo manipulated a huge number of spore cannons as much as possible, bombarding the monsters, mouths, fish gills and dead monster flesh. At this time, a huge sea monster couldn't support it and was knocked down to the ground. It struggles to crawl into the ocean. Chen Mo saw the opportunity and quickly gave it an extra knife. Boom! A heavy cannon hit his eyes directly, and it immediately lost its direction and rolled wildly, but instead rolled into the mushroom forest. Like a road roller, the huge body crushed hundreds of flat mushrooms. But Chen Mo doesn't care at all. Because this mutated shark itself is a huge nutrient. It hasn't completely died yet. A large number of mushrooms grew in the blood it spilled, and then spread to his wound, and then his whole body. A giant mushroom rose from its body. Event: you absorbed the blood of the mutated shark and obtained 100% of the mutated shark's gene. You extracted the usable gene from it, your gene structure was optimized, you adjusted the cell membrane structure, and your ability to resist salt and alkali was enhanced. Adaptability plus 0.2. A windfall. Chen Mo suddenly smiled. At first he just wanted to occupy the spring. How did they know that they could hunt and kill so many sea monsters? Originally, he thought that the genetic map of marine organisms would not be available in large quantities until they occupied the whole world. I didn't expect to be the first to have a good time here. Thinking of this, he began to slow down his attack speed. There is no rush to drive all the sea monsters out of the ocean. Instead, one spring is occupied and the other is vacated. Add spiritual power to the flesh and blood of the sea monsters to attract more sea monsters to fight. Even if we occupy the spring in the future, we can still fish in this way. While watching the sea monsters fight, Chen Mo opened the evolution tree. At this time, his evolution points have accumulated a lot. Just used to evolve toxin and metal genes. These two types must reach type 5, and they can meet the research conditions of talking about clues and absorbing them efficiently. Let's start with the metal gene. Warning: you are trying to use the evolution point to recombine and evolve the metal type 4 feet gene, which may increase the metal content in the cell, increase the strength of the cell wall, and slightly reduce the nutrient absorption capacity. 50% probability. It is worth noting, yes, this operation may lead to unknown consequences. 50% probability. Please choose carefully. Chen Mo didn't hesitate, and directly invested 30 evolution points. Warning: recombination evolution is out of control. The metal 4 feet gene has mutated, and you have obtained the branch evolution of the metal gene, the heavy metal gene. The activation of this gene will lead to uncontrolled metallization, which greatly increases cell strength. Notably, this reduces nutrient uptake capacity by 100%, leading to complete cell inactivation. If this kind of mutation appears in a creature in the usual sense, it will undoubtedly be very scary, and it is no different from cancer. Chen Mo studied this gene carefully, and then just felt that this was tailor-made for him. He is not a creature in the usual sense, and even if it is the same mushroom, he still has strong control. He can choose to activate or close this gene locally. Therefore, this gene can be used as metallized armor. Some of the mushrooms are fully metallized at the expense of themselves. However, at present, this function does not seem to have any particularly huge effect. On the contrary, it is the evolution of this branch that makes Chen Mo very interesting. He looked at the evolutionary tree. At this time, a small branch extended from the metal branch on the trunk. This one is heavy metal. But this branch is very small, like a branch on a tree trunk, and it will grow to the end soon. It can be seen from this that heavy metal basically doesn't have much potential for evolution. But having no evolutionary potential doesn't mean it doesn't have a huge effect. Chen Mo knows very well what heavy metal means. The upper limit of this ability does not lie in himself, but in what metal Chen Mo can absorb. If he can absorb very powerful metals, he can even piece together alloys in his body. That heavy metal is extremely powerful, and may be able to assemble an alloy deck comparable to a battleship. From this point of view, the heavy metal gene can be regarded as an assembly factory. What kind of technology and what kind of material you give it, what kind of result it will get. If I want to use the ability of heavy metal, I have to make great progress in element absorption and deployment. Chen Mo analyzed carefully. At this moment, he took another look at evolutionary clues, efficient absorption. Chen Mo's heart suddenly became hot. Evolution is complementary to each other, and every function requires the ability to memorize it. Chen Mo realized that this is very similar to the division of labor in human society. However, they are individual divisions of labor, and Chen Mo needs one person to collect all the categories. As an individual, he represents a civilization. He is civilization itself. Keep evolving. Chen Mo thinks about it, and continues to invest the remaining evolutionary points in the metal type 4. With a 50% probability, Chen Mo bet right this time. The branch of the evolutionary tree has been extended further, and the metal type 5 feet has been completed. Information: you have made a breakthrough in your teaching clues, efficient absorption, and the current research progress has reached 85%. Only the last 15% left. After a little analysis, Chen Mo found that the last 15%. In the progress of the research, toxin gene evolution occupies 10%, that is to say, as long as some more evolution points are obtained, this one can be completed. It will take about a day. Chen Mo turned his gaze back to the battlefield of Hawaii Island. At this time, the time interval for him to obtain the genetic map of new varieties has become longer and longer. The sea monsters fought back and forth, all of these kinds. For Chen Mo, nothing is new. In this case, it is better to quickly occupy the spring and get enough evolution points earlier. In this way, the mushroom forest, which had been calm for a while, began to show its power again. Stimulated by toxins and hallucinogenic spores, the sea monsters fought more and more fiercely. However, with the sudden acceleration of the death rate, the number of newly attracted sea monsters is no longer enough. Seeing that all these sea monsters are about to be driven into the sea, Chen Mo has already started to arrange spores to grow in the spring. Suddenly, boom, there was a loud bang. A black shadow suddenly set off in the sea. Then the whole sea area lit up. Yes, all of a sudden, lightning flashes everywhere. The waves that were raised caused the thunder and lightning to rush ashore, and even shot out with a crackling roar. The side near the coastline was all scorched black. The mushrooms that Chen Mo just arranged are all cooked through. Those sea monsters are not all 5.5. He was knocked to the ground by electricity. Even the mushroom forest was affected. Dozens of electric arcs pierced the air, hitting the mushroom forest like lightning. The mushrooms hit were instantly charred and then collapsed. It happened that Chen Mo was testing the metal gene. This results in a further increase in the shock range. Looking at the mushroom forest that had been blacked out by electricity, Chen Mo was dumbfounded. This is outrageous. His unintentional operation actually caused the monster to severely damage the mushroom forest. Chen Mo looked into the sea, and the huge black shadow slowly emerged from the water. With a slender body and two long tentacles waving around its mouth, electric sparks pop out from it from time to time. A mutated electric eel. The electric eel is extremely skillful, swallowing flesh and blood one bite at a time. Apparently, it's not the first time it's done this. Chen Mo recalled carefully, the opponent rushed over, from stirring up waves to releasing lightning, all in one go. This is treating this place as your own food supply place. The mutated electric eel wandered around and took a mouthful of roasted mushrooms curiously, but the taste was so bad that Neri vomited it out. He also showed a very human, disgusting expression. After eating all the sea monsters around, the electric eel didn't rush away, but smashed a big fish and threw it on the shore, then flicked its tail contentedly and sank into the deep sea. Hee, interesting. Chen Mo couldn't help but marvel at the magic of nature. No wonder this electric eel can grow so big. The degree of variation is so high. Harvesting a large amount of psionic energy-rich flesh and blood on a regular basis, it's no wonder it's not fierce. Even left a fish as bait. Obviously, when enough flesh and blood are gathered here, it will come to harvest again. Unfortunately, Chen Mo also plans to use this place as his own fishing ground. If the electric eel comes again, Chen Mo will not be polite to it. Looking at the speed at which the flesh and blood are piling up, the electric eels should only come once every 3 days or so. Chen Mo estimated the time. He had about 3 days to prepare. At the same time, he was also fortunate that he had bypassed the island in the middle and arrived in time. Otherwise, if you delay for a few days, you may face a mutant electric eel that is much more powerful than it is now. And the electric eel made the hunting ground so bloody and vast. It's too easy to get human attention. As long as any plane flies over the sky, it will find the abnormality here. Hundreds of sea monsters crowded together and formed a ball. Picture this scene. Even fools know there is a problem. We must find a way to kill the electric eel with one blow. Chen Mo pondered. The ability of this mutated electric eel to discharge is extremely terrifying, and Chen Mo was the first to veto the method of controlling the other sea monsters to attack each other. Like this kind of powerful current that can penetrate the air, in the seawater, retouch is basically invincible. Even a siege has no effect on it. When a current came down, fish within a kilometer range were knocked to the ground by the electricity. This is simply a weapon of mass destruction 20. Even on an island, the lethality of the arc is huge. However, for mushrooms without metal components, this kind of arc damage is very low. It's like lightning. No matter how fierce it is, it will only cut down 1 or 2 trees, and at most it will be lit again. The surrounding trees will be fine at all. Plants are not very afraid of electric shock damage. However, the spore cannon obviously didn't have enough lethality against the electric eel with a length of more than 50 meters. Even if the spore cannon is replaced by a human heavy machine gun, the damage may not be enough. Before killing the opponent, it will flee into the sea. Looking at the action, the intelligence of the electric eel is not low. Chen Mo murmured. He can feel some consciousness fluctuations leaked from the other party. That kind of pleasant, shopping-like consciousness is not something ordinary creatures can have. Obviously, with the mutation, the wisdom of that mutant electric eel has been greatly improved. You have to think of a concealed way to trap the opponent. Think in this direction. Chen Mo suddenly had an idea. He set his sights on the mycelium. At this time, the mycelium has received the support of the two major genes metal and regeneration, and its strength has been greatly improved. Comparable to tree roots. The only downside is that the action is still not fast enough. However, this shortcoming can be compensated by a large area. And, evolutionary clues, efficient absorption, has also greatly improved mycelium. Chen Mo is going to spend 2 days trying to complete this research. Then lay the trap. Evolution clues, efficient absorption. You need the knowledge reserve support of +1000 carbon-based organisms, supported by more powerful, toxin and, metal, genes. Current advance 85%. Among them, the metal gene, Chen Mo, has been completed, and he only needs to wait for the day after tomorrow. He will have enough evolution points to evolve the toxin gene, and the knowledge reserve of carbon-based organisms. He has reached more than 900. Absorbing a large number of sea monster genes today, and expanding in tropical areas these days, Chen Mo can harvest a large number of genetic maps every day. He estimated that now he can add about 100 more carbon-based biological knowledge every day. The reason why the increase is so fast is that the expansion of the mushroom community is very fast. The last time Chen Mo checked it was only 0.5%, but this time it has reached 1.5%. 1.5% of the world's area. He has already spread to the whole territory of the monkey country, and now he has entered the human monster country and the simple country. Chen Mo's next goal is the kangaroo country, which is isolated overseas. Make sure to get the full carbon-based bio-knowledge stockpile tomorrow. The land area of kangaroo country is large enough, and almost all of it is located in the tropics. Except for the dry climate, it is very suitable for Chen Mo. And there is one thing Chen Mo likes very much, that is, the population of kangaroo country is very sparse, and their population is all concentrated in a few large cities along the coast. The sea monsters in the deep sea are not as easy to deal with as they are on land. Drilling into the sea, human beings have nothing to do with them. So kangaroo country suffered greatly. Since the global cataclysm, the country has been divided. Now divided into 2 large cities, controlled by gangs of psychers, busy with infighting. And Chen Mo deliberately reduced the number of springs on this land. This further leads to a reduction in the range of human activities. The attention of big countries to this place is limited to the vicinity of a dozen springs. They basically turn a blind eye to internal strife in their own country. In a spring, on this day, I suddenly received a mission request from Lu Ru. This spring is dominated by the river crab country. Although the Kuanyin base is not under the jurisdiction of the Research Institute, it is obliged to cooperate with experts to go out for sampling and carry out investigation tasks. Professor Lu Ru's investigation request must have been responded to immediately. Ready for action. Immediately, an exploration team set off. They drove an armored vehicle and went straight to an inland forest, near a lake. Professor Lu thinks there may be springs nearby, please search carefully. Search along the perimeter of this great lake and divide into 2 teams. The captain of the exploration team gave the order. He opened an all-metal box, carefully took out a psionic mushroom from it, and placed it in a spherical device. This spherical metal cavity can well protect the psionic mushroom, provide suitable temperature and nutrients, and automatically detect the position of the fluorescent light on the mushroom. Instead of soldiers checking with the naked eye every time. Very useful. The armored vehicle ran wildly for a while, and in the group separated from the captain, the team members holding the detector suddenly became curious. How exactly does this psychic mushroom work in 013? On a whim, he looked around. Everyone was leaning against the carriage and chatting. So, when others were not paying attention, he unscrewed the metal cover, took out the fluorescent lamp, and looked at the mushroom carefully. It can be seen that there are some fine dust falling from the mushroom cap. The dust irritated his nose itchy. Suddenly he couldn't help it. Achoo! A sneeze almost caused the mushroom to fall out of the car. This frightened him a lot, so he quickly screwed the lid on. Did you open the lid just now? On the side, some soldiers came over. No, Ren. The soldier rubbed his nose, I have a rhinitis. It's not the best, don't mess it up. this psychic mushroom is very delicate. If the captain finds out, it will definitely make you unable to eat it. The soldier chuckled and hurriedly changed the subject. Do you think there can be a spring near here? It's so humid here, and the ground is soft. If a spring is found, it may be very difficult to construct. It's beyond our control. We just need to carry out the orders. Naturally, smart people like Lu Ru can find solutions to the problems you mentioned. Besides, there are two things to say about whether there is any, and it is suspected that there is, not necessarily true. 2. The roar of the engine gradually faded away, and white hyphae gradually spread on the wet ground. There are no springs here, but it is very suitable for growing mushrooms. A wild dog ran wildly on the grassland. In biological classification, it belongs to a subspecies of gray wolf. Sprinting and leaping over a ditch, it jumped 7 or 8 meters away, and then landed heavily. It landed together with the spore dust on its body. It has mushrooms growing on its back, but it is not fatal. Instead, mushrooms give it an extra force zone. Whenever it finds prey, it gets excited, blood flows quickly, and the hyphae of the mushroom will detect this change and secrete a small amount of hallucinogen. This stimulates the wild dog's nervous system, making it excited and aggressive. Equivalent to a dose of adrenaline. This greatly increases the probability of wild dogs chasing their prey successfully. Of course, Chen Mo is not a good person in vain. In fact, he controls hundreds of such wild dogs, spreading spore dust non-stop. The species on this continent are rather peculiar, and the closed environment has created a fragile ecosystem. The wild dog, an alien species, has no place on this continent in recent years. Now there is no planned hunting by humans to control the number. They are even more unscrupulous breeding. Mutation will make creatures stronger, but the problem is that animals that are stronger than you are also mutating. How to break this? With a high probability, you are still its prey. This is especially true for wild dogs at the top of the food chain. They are in groups, extremely terrifying. The power of groups is in nature, and there is basically no solution. Although the adaptability of 6.7 does not allow Chen Mo to adapt to all environments, it is not a big problem to survive in tropical areas with plants. Therefore, the mushrooms spread rapidly throughout the kangaroo country under the wild dogs running wildly. From the first spores falling from the armored vehicle to this moment, only 1 day has passed. Chen Mo has expanded to the surrounding of the entire lake, and controlled 2 groups of wild dogs, and began to spread further. Wild dogs can run 5,000 or 6,000 kilometers without stopping. This is still under consideration of life. If they are constantly stimulated with hallucinogens, they can run at least 100 kilometers before they die from exhaustion. But Chen Mo won't do that, because he found an interesting thing. That is, the hallucinogenic shield against spores. Yes, you heard that right, an addiction. If the mushrooms behind them are shaken off, they even take the initiative to rub the place where there are mushrooms, so that the spores can reattach to their bodies, hoping to grow mushrooms. Chen Mo felt very interesting when he saw this scene. At the same time, with a flash of inspiration in his mind, he began to use telepathy to guide these wild dogs. So, among the wild dogs, a very peculiar custom appeared. That is to help conjure parasitic mushrooms. All wild dogs love mushrooms, but parasitism is not so simple, because the thick gray hair prevents the spores from growing. They let the same kind give themselves a bite on the ass. Then, smear the mushrooms. This custom will be passed down and spread from generation to generation, because wild dogs are group creatures, and they have a strong ability to learn, especially the ability to learn and communicate like their own kind. There is also a strong emphasis on collectiveness. In a few years, this strange symbiotic relationship will spread throughout the wild dog community, hehe. It may be difficult for biologists in the future to explain this strange symbiosis. Chen Mo couldn't help complaining easily. Mushroom addiction. Chen Mo is equivalent to indirectly controlling the entire wild dog population. But it doesn't mean much to him, he just spreads with the help of wild dogs. How far it can develop in the end depends on the ingenious workmanship of nature. But when it comes to addiction, Chen Mo can't help but think of the Jingyu mushroom that he has been promoting for a long time among human beings. This kind of mushroom was originally a tool that could detoxify and push Lu Ru to the top. But unexpectedly, it was later promoted as a drink with a small amount of hallucinogenic ingredients. The properties are similar to coffee and tea. Even now, Lu Ru has the habit of soaking in this quiet rain mushroom to refresh her mind. It's almost like making coffee. If I adjust the ingredients slowly to increase the addictiveness. This idea could not help flashing through Chen Mo's mind. Addictiveness does not need to be too high, it is almost the same as tobacco. You can quit, but it is very difficult to quit. And Chen Mo, as a genetic master, can precisely adjust the addictive ingredients so that the Jingyu mushroom does not contain harmful ingredients. That way, no one will want to quit. And Chen Mo's power, in the field of existence among human beings, will be further strengthened, and it may be of great use in the future. In terms of life and spiritual energy, Chen Mo has infiltrated. Psychic mushroom is the leading psionic technology, and Jingyu mushroom is a leisure diet. In the future, as my ability improves, I can also adjust the Jingyu mushroom, and without anyone noticing, I may be able to influence a large number of human beings. Now you can start to adjust the taste of Jingyu mushroom, so that it tastes the best and has the best effect when it is fresh. In this way, without knowing it, I can guide human beings to eat the freshest Jingyu mushroom, leaving room for my future operation. Chen Mo carefully considered this possibility. After all, the fresh Jingyu mushroom still retains its activity, and he can also manipulate it. According to the situation on the spot, temporarily let the Jingyu mushroom secrete more hallucinogens for manipulation, or secrete venom to kill people invisible. It's all possible. If the Jingyu mushroom infiltrates most of the human beings, as he imagined before, killing the scientists among the human beings, killing the key people, and implementing a technological blockade may not be possible. The role of a master of technology must not be ignored. If Chen Mo kills one, he may be able to delay the advent of a technology for several years. At that time, no one will suspect that one mushroom did it, and the rest of the big ones will take the blame. Even, when necessary, it can provoke internal conflicts among human beings. The more Chen Mo thought about it, the more he felt that this plan was good. Roar. A roar brought Chen Mo back to reality. He controlled the head wolf to hunt and kill. A kangaroo is surrounded by dingoes. He desperately wanted to break through, but with Chen Mo around, it was obviously impossible for him to succeed. It didn't take long for the kangaroo, which stood nearly 3 meters tall, to be hunted down. The wild dogs also changed their previous strategy of eating up and wiping away. Abandoned half the body on the ground. Before long, mushrooms grew on the corpse. Chen Mo controls the wild dogs and keeps hunting all kinds of animals, ranging from kangaroos to lizards. Even the scorpions are not spared. You absorbed the flesh and blood of a scorpion, obtained 10% of the scorpion gene, you extracted the usable gene from it, your gene structure has been optimized, your toxin gene has been enhanced, and the secreted venom can pass through the skin cells slowly. Penetration, risk plus 0.1. This scorpion is very good. Chen Mo immediately started collecting more scorpions to obtain a complete genetic map. After several wild dogs were stung and foamed at the mouth, Chen Mo has finally completed the collection of the scorpion genetic map. Information, your evolutionary clues, efficient absorption, has made research progress, the carbon-based biological knowledge reserve has reached plus 1000, and the current research progress has reached 90%. After 2 busy days in Kangaroo continent, Chen Mo finally pushed the research progress to 90%. And an additional 10 springs were occupied. Each of these springs can provide Chen Mo with about 1 evolution point every day. Through psychic mushrooms, he can gain 50 evolution points every day. Most of the ones I occupy are acquired today. So after 2 days, Chen Mo has another 150 evolution points on hand. Of course, this includes hunting some mutated creatures. It's really cool to occupy so many springs by one person. Chen Mo has already initially experienced this refreshing feeling at this moment. Taking the risk of manipulating human psionic technology back then was simply a brilliant move. It has brought him great benefits. Many animals just occupy one spring, and they mutate into incomparably powerful ones, but he is involved in every spring in the world by himself. At this moment, if any country is selected, there is no one who can obtain as much psionic power as Chen Mo alone. Only the last toxin gene can be upgraded. Chen Mo held back his excitement, turned his gaze back to Hawaii Island, and started the final preparations. There are already sea monsters fighting here. Chen Mo didn't bother them, but kept them. Just used to test, to see how powerful the new ability is. Warning, you are trying to use evolution points to recombine and evolve the toxin gene, which may increase the toxicity of the secreted toxin, and has a certain corrosiveness 99.99% probability. It is worth noting that this operation may lead to unknown consequences 0.01% probability. Choose carefully. Chen Mo didn't hesitate, and directly invested 10 evolution points. Information: the toxin gene has been recombined and evolved, and you have obtained the toxin type 2 feet gene. With its support, your secretory cells can secrete toxins, and the damage range of toxins has been expanded to a certain extent, especially for nervous system as well as protein, has a strong destructive effect. Continue. Chen Mo then invested 20 evolution points. Obtained the toxin type 3 gene. The toxicity of this gene is stronger. Not only that, but the speed at which Chen Mo secretes the venom has also accelerated. Continue. Invest 30 evolution points, and get the toxin type 4 feet gene. So far, Chen Mo's probability of losing control is only 80%. The reason is that many enhanced genes related to toxins have been obtained before. This has resulted in Chen Mo having ample technical reserves in this area. Therefore, recombination evolution is not easy to get out of control. Continue. Open black lens bracket information, close black lens bracket. You have recombined and evolved the toxin type 4 feet gene, and you have obtained the toxin type 5 feet gene. With its support, your secretory cells can quickly secrete toxins, and the damage range of the toxins has been limited. Expansion has a strong destructive effect on cell structure organisms and is easily soluble in lipid substances. Is it easily soluble in lipids? Chen Mo gasped. This kind of toxin is absolutely terrifying to the lethality of living things. You know, the inside of the cell and the cell itself need a lot of lipids. The consciousness that dissolves in lipids is actually easy to dissolve in flesh and blood. In other words, as long as there is direct skin contact, it may be directly poisoned. No inhalation or oral administration is required. It penetrates directly through the skin. And it cannot be detoxified. Because this poison penetrates directly into the cells, hemodialysis, serum and other detoxification methods are useless. Chen Mo was ready to experiment immediately. Activate the toxin type 5 feet gene. Immediately, the poison starts. Secretion. Boom. A spore blasted out. In order to test the effect, Chen Mo used the smallest caliber spore cannon. The sporangia produced are the size of a thumb. But the head is better. It precisely hit a big fish with no wounds. This fish has a mouth full of fangs, and a bone armor grows from its back. The tyrannical group is Chen Mo's evolutionary gene. At this moment, it has already killed 2 trash fish. The back of the oracle fish was hit by a spore sac, and with a bang, a cloud of spore dust exploded. Then, no response. Chen Mo was about to be astonished. The fish scales in that area suddenly began to change color. All turned black. Yes, it quickly blackened as if it had been dyed with ink. Then, following the violent movements of the fish, the meat in that piece fell down as if it was all rotten. It's all black. The blood inside was also black. Roar. The oracle fish screamed, persisted in crawling forward, and then fell silent. It only took about 10 seconds from the time when the oracle fish was shot, to when the protein turned black, and then to death. Chen Mo was dumbfounded. Is this too poisonous? He just let Li Chenjiao spore surface to secrete venom. If a launching device is evolved that can contain this kind of venom, wouldn't it be instant kill? Hehe, but 10 seconds is equivalent to spike. Quote. Chen Mo smiled. The surrounding sea monsters were startled, and the fighting stopped slightly. It is the death of a turtle, it is too scary. The whole thing started to turn black, and there was a big hole on the side, where the tissue was constantly decomposing, and black water flowed out. Like being hit by a sulfuric acid bomb. Chen Mo understood that this was the effect of the toxin disintegrating the cells. It looked like the meat had been melted by something. It looks very shocking. These sea monsters also have a certain amount of intelligence, and it is normal to be frightened and shocked. But it's fish after all. The nervous system is very underdeveloped, and even with additional evolution, animal nature still has the upper hand. Not long after, under the stimulation of flesh and blood, they were stripped together again. And Chen Mo also started the last step of preparation. Evolution clues: efficient absorption. Based on existing genetic data, you have developed an evolutionary structure, creep. This structure allows you to refine the mycelial morphology, allowing it grows in large numbers and expands to become a creeper. At the same time, it expands the scope of nutrient uptake, and has the ability to transform the local environment, which can improve adaptability by +10 and danger level by +5. Finally finished the gram. Chen Mo was very excited. He can't help but be excited. This is a major improvement in the iron form. It can be seen from the explosive increase in adaptability and danger level that this is an extremely aggressive and expansive organ. Creep. Tisk tisk, isn't this like a Zerg creep? Wherever it goes, it devours everything, and everything is corrupted. Creep, which has evolved to the extreme, can even spread to the whole world, wrapping the entire planet, and directly using the planet as a source of nutrients. Start evolving. As soon as Chen Mo thought, hyphae began to spread out on the ground, but their shape changed quickly, and they became not like mycelium. All the hyphae are intertwined, and they are extremely dense, and at the same time, a black liquid begins to secrete from the surface, and the entire mycelium is wrapped together. The hyphae continued to spread on the ground, and soon began to thicken, turning into a spreading carpet of corruption. Wherever they went, the ground sizzled, and at the same time, a faint smoke drifted up. These are some small bugs that have been severely corroded. Directly under the cover of the creeper, it turned into bloody water. Creep has terrible toxicity, corrosiveness, and high strength. Although it looks like a soft creep, it is actually as strong as a tree root. If part of the ability to absorb nutrients is sacrificed, the strength can continue to increase. Chen Mo spreads the creep underground. Creep corrosion can produce a large amount of nutrients, and these nutrients are continuously absorbed by the creep. At the same time, the corrosion of the creep will release a lot of toxic components, making the surroundings rotten and damp. This environment is very suitable for the growth of mushrooms. The spores grow directly on the creep, which directly eliminates the restriction of the ground environment. Chen Mo looked at the sprawling, rapidly growing mushrooms. My heart was shocked. This is what makes adaptive growth explosive. As for the risk level +5, Chen Mo smiled, and with a thought, the creep spread to the place where the sea monsters were fighting. He also wants to see how dangerous are the dangerous species that have never appeared on this planet, the creatures with a danger level of 7.9. The spreading speed of the creeper is about 1 meter per minute. Really can't say fast. Compared with animals, it is even slow. For the creep to form a thickness and have a certain strength, it takes 3 hours to wait. After all, Chen Mo's cell growth speed is only so fast at present. But even so, the system still gave an extremely terrifying risk rating. After all, although the creep grows slowly, there is no limit to its size. If left alone, even if it grows only 1 meter per minute, Chen Mo can destroy the ecosystem of an entire planet. The creeper spread from the ground, but it didn't move, but waited quietly. Chen Mo has a lot of patience. He calculates the time, and then the eel is almost here. The sea monsters fought fiercely, and the creeps absorbed a large amount of blood underground. The speed is 253, much faster than mycelium. After all, the density and quantity are here. Information: you have obtained 100% genetic map of mutated tuna. By analyzing the genes, your understanding of tuna has deepened. Based on this research, your understanding of organic species branches and carbon-based organisms has also been deepened. Carbon-based biological knowledge +1, increase the efficiency of its various actions by 1%. Information: you have obtained the genetic map of the mutated deep-sea snake. Hearing the pleasant notification sound, Chen Mo suddenly felt at ease. After mycelium evolved into creep, Chen Mo's absorption ability has not only been greatly improved, but also the gene collection ability has also increased. At this time, the gene collection ability has directly increased from low efficiency to medium, and the flesh and blood needed to obtain the gene map has been directly halved. While experiencing the benefits of evolution, Chen Mo expanded to the entire island. At this time, he can no longer expand with spores, instead, he is replaced by fungus money. The creep spreading underground is very safe and hidden. At the same time, Chen Mo did not relax his vigilance, and kept staring at the sea near the spring. Suddenly, the tallest observing mushroom observed a huge heat source moving in the ocean. Infrared vision did the trick this time. If you just rely on the naked eye, it is difficult to find that the car is approaching. Prepare. Chen Mo tensed up instantly. A large row of heavy-duty spore cannons specially prepared for electric eels is also ready at any time. Wait, the shape of the shadow is wrong. Chen Mo's thought flashed, but he didn't start it right away. Sure enough, with a bang, it turned out to be an extremely huge deep-sea squid crawling up. The deep-sea squid can grow up to hundreds of meters in size, but after the mutation, it is even more terrifying. 500 or 600 meters in diameter. After it surged onto the shore, a whole bunch of sea monsters were crushed under it. The huge shadow cast makes people think that it is dark. This mutated squid was completely black, almost as arrogant as an electric eel. When its huge tentacles rolled up, a mutated fish was stuffed into its mouth, and its mouth full of fangs twirled. Flesh splattered. The octopus grew up with some disgusting shells, mutated tentacles, and inside the mouth, with jagged fangs. If anyone is here, they will definitely be shocked by this scene. It's so big. Chen Mo was a little confused at this moment. This squid completely ruined his plan. I saw dozens of tentacles of the squid stuffing things into its mouth fiercely. Within 10 minutes, the entire sea monster near the spring was eaten up by it. Seeing that the squid was about to run away after eating, Chen Mo was furious. He has worked so hard to prepare the bait for such a long time, it is unreasonable. If you can't be killed, your skin will be peeled off. Chen Mo was about to fire the spore cannon on the spot. Just at this time, another huge heat source appeared on the seabed far away. Here comes the electric eel. Chen Mo thought. No shots were fired immediately. Instead, wait until the octopus is half submerged in the water and the electric eel begins to sprint faster. He just started attacking suddenly. And it didn't have all the firepower, but only one shot, which hit one of the octopus tentacles. This octopus is so big that Chen Mo can't hit its head. But it's useless even if you hit it. That's not the bad thing about octopuses. The brain of the octopus is a distributed nervous system, which is all different. Therefore, many people once suspected that the octopus was an alien species. Although octopuses do not have brains, their nervous system all over the body can be used as brains, and the actual performance is also very good. The intelligence of octopuses ranks among the top in the aquarium. Intelligent, but without the same shortcomings as the human brain. This is also the reason why Chen Mo only dares to guarantee to hurt the other party. Octopus are very difficult to kill. But this time, this variable deep-sea octopus is more than auspicious. Chen Mo fired a spore-heavy cannon, and there was a chee-chee sound, and the octopus let out a painful roar, and turned around suddenly. This made him completely unaware that a black shadow was approaching at full speed. Boom! The mutated electric eel made a ferocious impact, followed by a close-fitting electric discharge. In an instant, this piece of sea area lit up. A 100-meter-long electric eel fights a 500-meter-long mutated octopus. With no doubt. After all, one can do magic, and the other can only do physical attacks. Because of Chen Mo's interference, the mutated electric eel took the lead. It's not just one strike first, but two strikes. A bump, an electric shock. Chen Mo has no sense of smell, but he believes that this moment must be filled with the smell of meat. But the octopus is worthy of its vitality, so it is not dead yet. It stretched out its movable tentacles reflexively, and entangled the electric eel. The electric eel obviously doesn't have the ability to discharge continuously, but its fangs are quite ferocious. The two monsters scuffled and rolled a lot towards the island. Some places were smashed out of deep pits, and all the creepers inside were exposed. However, the two monsters were red-eyed, which is the case when wild beasts fight, without reservation. This is different from several of my neighbors. Chen Mo smiled. Miss He-si, under his teaching, became very cunning. If the mutated electric eel dared to rush forward, he was sure of it. It didn't take long for it to gain the upper hand. In fact, the electric shock just now did too much damage to the octopus. Some of its tentacles were directly burnt black, and they broke directly with force. Most of the body is also badly burned. And soon, the two tentacles of the electric eel flew up, and electric current flickered on them. Obviously, the mutated electric eel breathed a sigh of relief and was about to discharge again. But Chen Mo didn't agree. Such powerful mutated octopus flesh and blood are automatically delivered to the door. If the electric eel scorches them all, he will go and find them again. Therefore, Chen Mo, who was watching the show, acted decisively. Boom! The whole ground shook slightly. Then countless hyphae spread out. The creepy blanket in the distance began to bulge and wrap around. Just like wrapping an egg roll, just roll it over. At the same time, all the spore cannons start firing. In an instant, both monsters were stupefied. The mutated octopus was seriously injured and couldn't run away, so it was beaten in place. The mutated electric eel wanted to run away, but the spore dust covering his face instantly made it impossible to see the surrounding area. It was so anxious that it was full of discharge current, and with a thud, it didn't accumulate enough power, and the power it released was much weaker, and it was just another shock to the half-breathed octopus. If the 100-meter body of the mutated electric eel is considered huge, then the creep is the entire Earth. The terrifying poison and hyphae frantically pull the mutated electric eel. The rolling creep is slow, but unstoppable. Creeps from all directions are coming here. The final result is a huge and incomparably creepy mountain, shaking hash on the island of Hawaii. Something is struggling inside, but very faintly. From a distance, this thing looks like some kind of extremely evil embryo. It seems that something is being conceived, and it looks like a disgusting meat mountain, and it will shake twice from time to time. Event: you absorbed the blood of the mutated electric eel, obtained 100% of the mutated electric eel gene. You extracted the usable gene from it, your genetic structure has been optimized, your nutrient absorption ability has been enhanced, mycelium nutrient absorption speed plus 0.1. Information: according to the existing genetic data, you have analyzed a brand new type of cell, electric cell. This type of cell will improve and expand organs, further increase the response speed of the nervous system, and at the same time obtain a new way of energy release, adaptability plus 0.1. Hazard level plus 0.5, it is worth noting that this will greatly increase nutrient consumption. Event: you absorbed the flesh and blood of the mutated deep-sea octopus, obtained 100% of the mutated deep-sea octopus genes, and you extracted usable genes from them. You integrated these genes into your own genetic map, and your regeneration genes were partially enhanced, your resistance to high molecular toxins has been improved, and your adaptability plus 0.3. Information: you devoured the flesh and blood of the mutated electric eel, absorbed spiritual energy from it, and gained evolution points plus 1. Information: you devoured, and gained evolution point plus 1. Devour to evolve. Point information: constantly refreshed. But these are not the focus of Chen Mo's attention. His eyes fell on the power cells. This is the big head. Hehe, this is convenient for me to electric fish. Before, Chen Mo was worried that he would use toxins to kill fish, which would pollute the surrounding sea area. After a long time, no sea monsters were willing to come over. Weak toxin taste. The current sea monster perception is very keen. But with power cells, these are not a problem. His fishing ground can be opened immediately. Efficient and clean hunting method. Using this method, Chen Mo can also attack targets in the sea. At the same time, Chen Mo also has a method that can directly threaten all human mechanical weapons. Armored tanks can withstand the spore cannon, but the electric current cannot be stopped. With the energy of electricity, maybe I can develop a plant version of the plasma cannon in the future. This thing is truly high-tech. It can be different from toxins and corrosion. It may become one of the mainstream means of Chen Mo's remote attack. Of course, except for these obvious gains. Chen Mo also got a new evolutionary clue. Evolution clues: distributed neural networks. You obtained a 100% genetic map of the mutated deep-sea octopus, and by analyzing the genes, you discovered a brand new neural arrangement structure. The smart platform based on this architecture is likely to support more complex sensory organs and replace the existing rough nervous system, which is expected to improve adaptability plus 0.5. Risk plus 0.5, and greatly increase the degree of automation. In order to modify this technology to suit your own conditions, you need carbon-based organisms plus 2000, octopus genes plus 100%. A large number of organisms similar to the nervous system are used as references depending on specific conditions. Distributed neural network. Chen Mo was ecstatic. I thought that the electric eel would be my biggest harvest, but I didn't expect that the octopus is the real treasure. He finally has more advanced technology and can construct organs unique to intelligent creatures. Brain. And his brain is not the kind of brain in the usual sense, but a distributed neural network brain distributed in the whole body of mushrooms that is not easy to be noticed. This one is perfect for Chen Mo. It just so happens that he is a distributed consciousness, and having such a brain may bring additional benefits. More importantly, the appearance of this organ allows Chen Mo to evolve various complex sensory organs. Instead of the current high myopia, it seems that after more than 2 months, I can finally smell grilled squid again. By the way, there is also the smell of a girl coming out of the bath. Chen Mo couldn't help but sigh with emotion. A day later, the island of Hawaii returned to calm. There are no fighting sea monsters, and no scary creeps. Everything is hidden in the dark. Just in a few corners of the island, there are not many mushroom forests. One after another, along the coastline, there are also some mushrooms. These are the eyes, arranged by Chen Mo. Among them, there must be a mushroom that grows very tall, or the terrain is very high. The view is very wide. These mushrooms have high myopia and infrared vision. Mainly relying on infrared vision, they can detect approaching enemies in the deep sea. This is something Chen Mo doesn't use often. But once the gas is used, it turns out to be surprisingly easy to use. Some functions seem inconspicuous and are not often used, but their functions cannot be ignored. 1 inch. Chen Mo looked at the security system he had initially built, and said with emotion. Had it not been for the mushrooms specially built for observation yesterday, Chen Mo might not have been able to catch the electric eels. Even electric eels and octopuses couldn't be caught. At that time, as long as he moved a little faster and was a little anxious, the octopus and electric eel would hit the sea water, or the electric eel would not attack at all. And Chen Mo is just right, relying on the ability to observe the deep sea. Even before the octopus, a native of the sea, hadn't been discovered, he was the first to discover the traces of the electric eel. Various sensory organs are still very useful. If all the sensory organs that can be collected are integrated together to form a super detector. Chen Mo couldn't help smiling. Sound waves, electromagnetic waves, infrared rays, ultraviolet rays, vibrations, etc., can be observed in different forms. Even subtle changes in the concentration of psionic energy. Chen Mo can also observe by evolving corresponding organs. In this way, no enemy can hide its tracks in front of him. And when such universal observation organs are integrated, the world is unknown. If he is matched with a powerful commanding brain, then he will easily master things in every corner of the world. Every move of any human waving a creature cannot escape his observation. Of course, these are only assumptions at present. It is quite difficult to evolve so many observation abilities into one eye. Chen Mo plans to first develop the abilities of touch, hearing, vision, and smell. And this depends on the research of evolutionary clues, distributed neural network. The first step in research, of course, is to obtain sufficient biological samples. Therefore, Chen Mo learned how to mutate electric eels, and Tian started fishing. He didn't devour all the flesh and blood of the mutated octopus, but kept some of it. This part is rich in spiritual energy. Chen Mo estimates that if collected, it can be converted into about 1 point of evolution. But if he can't let go of the child and can't let go of the wolf, he doesn't want these evolution points. Instead, throw it on the shore. The waves hit. Blood water spreads in the ocean. Soon, a sea monster came upon hearing the news. The speed was so fast that even Chen Mo was a little taken aback. The blood-rich and psychic energy is extremely powerful in attracting sea monsters. At the same time, looking at the protruding strange fish, Chen Mo narrowed his eyes slightly. This monster fish, variable in length, is also very good. If the combat power of the deep-sea octopus is 10, then this strange fish has also reached about 3. This is a very big deal. At the beginning of Chen Mo, Yila was a special case. But as soon as the blood spread, it attracted such a powerful sea monster. This had to make Chen Mo vigilant. Think carefully. In this short week, he found 5 traces of powerful sea monsters in the ocean. The first one is the seabird that occupies an entire island, and the giant whale that competes with it for food in the ocean. The second is the mutated octopus and mutated electric eel that he killed. Now, another mutant fish came. The frequency is frighteningly high. Far beyond the mutated animals on land, whether it is strength or quantity. Moreover, the flesh and blood of the mutated deep-sea octopus contains much more psionic energy than the mutated electric eel. First, his size is huge. The second, it has other sources of spiritual energy. When Chen Mo said this, his tone was very positive. Perhaps there are spiritual springs in the deep sea, and there are more than one. It is estimated that there are about 2,000 springs in the world, and the land area only accounts for about 30% of the global area. In other words, there are more than 5,000 springs located in the ocean. Even, located in the imperceptible deep sea. What's even more frightening is that the annexation efficiency of species in the ocean is extremely high, and they are not restricted by terrain. And some whales or large fish originally wandered around the world with ocean currents. As long as they have an advantage at the beginning, they will be able to continuously devour flesh and blood rich in psionic energy, further mutate, and become stronger. The stronger they are, the more flesh and blood they can obtain. It's like snowballing. It has an advantage at the beginning, but it cannot be blocked later. Just like that electric eel, its strength must have been far from abnormal at the beginning, but before it happened by accident, after gaining some benefits, it was in an absolute crushing position. Then it devoured wildly, becoming more and more terrifying. But at this moment, such creatures must be all over the ocean. The ocean at this time is a large evolutionary field. To put it bluntly, it is a GU farm. The monster that will be raised in the end will probably shock the whole world. Even Chen Mo's expression became serious. But for this problem, Chen Mo can't do anything. 0. This is something that cannot be done. No one can grasp the things in the deep sea. But, if I can't grasp it, I can join in and train my own players. Take part in this evolution game. Chen Mo thought of this. Then he began to pay attention to the fishing grounds he set up. At this time, the mutated strange fish had already killed 2 provocative sea monsters, and only one person had the flesh and blood. But this strange fish is obviously not qualified. Chen Mo could feel its thoughts. Very confusing. The strength is there, but the IQ is really too low. This kind of existence does not last long. Chen Mo is also not flattering about his appearance. He has a wide range of choices, and there is no need to choose one whose appearance is not on the table. The creatures that are related to him now, not to mention good-looking, are all very bright. Except, of course, the queen. This guy is magical in consciousness, thought. Thinking of this, Chen Mo simply added the strange fish into the ranks of bait. When the strange fish was high-spirited and roared to the sky, 2 tentacles suddenly stretched out from the ground. One left, one right. A dazzling electric current bursts out. Chen Mo is going to observe for about 3 days and pick a lucky one. And this lucky one will become Chen Mo's representative in the ocean. Just like Lu Ru, he became his representative among human beings. At that time, Chen Mo will also get huge benefits. Thinking of Lu Ru, Chen Mo turned his perspective and came to the laboratory. Just met a pair of beautiful eyes. At this time, Lu Ru was wearing a white lab coat and was staring at the mushroom. Possessing a puzzled look. Strange, there is a new change. What kind of weird breed are you? Lu Ru took out a knife and cut a small piece of mushroom from the mushroom. It is then ground into thin slices and observed under a microscope. But obviously, nothing to observe. Whatever shape Chen Mo wants, he can do whatever he wants. He changed his appearance just to increase Lu Ru's interest. It's been almost 2 months now. Studying mushrooms every day has almost become Lu Ru's daily routine. Not only her, but the graduate student beside her, Ali, also studies every day. Many papers have been written for this purpose. One of the papers on this strange mushroom was also published in a very well-known scientific journal. This made her and this mushroom both famous. Even, there are reporters who have come to interview. It is said that the laboratory presided over by Lu Ru is full of talents. Teacher, when will we go back to the basin of Jingyu Town? No, this mushroom has been here for so long, and it may feel different from its 310 relatives. Also blame the lonely one, give it a visit to relatives. Quote. Ali smiled and scratched her head. There is no research progress, so I want some comparative data. Of course, the main reason is to go to the laboratory over there. The spring base is now the place that everyone wants to go the most. There, it is rumored, there is a history area that makes people superhuman. Can mushrooms still be lonely? Lu Ru smiled. How could she not know what she was thinking as a student? But this is not a bad idea, even she herself is eager to obtain that kind of power. Go to the basin again if you have a chance, I really want to go and see it, and I will go after the laboratory is moved. Moving the lab. Ali's eyes widened in surprise, but she couldn't restrain her surprise. Could it be that the rumor is true? I think you have also heard some news. As my student, I will give you the right to come and go freely. Lu Ru said a little dotingly. This child Ali is very good, she admires it very much, and also intends to cultivate it. Now her stall is getting bigger and bigger, and there are a lot of things to deal with. Although Ali is usually naughty and looks young, she is quite serious when doing things. She can see how hard she works. Of course, family conditions are also something she resonates with. Both of them come from ordinary families. Thank you, teacher. Ali's face was flushed, she was excited, and her voice was a little hoarse. Choked up. Thank you, teacher, for giving me this opportunity. She emphasized it again, standing up nervously. I don't know where to put my hands. This benefit is really too great. Even Chen Mo on the side was slightly surprised. This woman Lu Ru is really kind to her own people. He knows much better than Ali, and it is not an exaggeration to say that it gave Ali a chance to change her life against the sky. Equivalent to what? It is equivalent to giving others the power to practice in the practice world. Yes, it's such a big opportunity. Lu Ru gave this student to herself. The laboratory she is about to move to is located in a temperate location. Built on a spring. A huge experimental center will be built there, and a large spring base will also be built. Today, such bases are being built everywhere in the world. Collectively referred to as spring base. In a small country, the whole country was relocated, and a city was built directly around the spring. Big countries have too many people to do this, so spring bases are built everywhere. These basic living indicators are naturally incomparable resources. Every quota can be auctioned for a sky-high price. You know, the closer you are to the spring, the higher the possibility of inspiring your talents. Even if you stimulate your talent, you will become stronger if you bathe in psionic energy every day. Therefore, needless to say, how precious the places near the spring are. Even the local officials may not be able to get on the wheel. After all, there are too many people who need spring eyes. Many spring bases can only implement a rotation system. Since everyone wants to live there, but there are only so many springs, they can only come in rotation. In order to stay for a while longer, countless people show their special abilities, especially the elderly who are dying. If you can live near the spring, if you can't stimulate your talents, you can greatly prolong your life. Of course, life extension is top secret information, and even if it is circulated on the internet, it will be deleted in an instant. Only those with sufficient qualifications can have access to this information. Even so, the competition for each spring is extremely fierce. There is still peaceful competition within the big powers, but when the other side competes for the spring, the level of bloodshed rises linearly. Basically, the springs of small countries are occupied by big countries in the name of technical assistance and joint management, and small countries can only share a small part of the resources of the springs. The competition between big countries is even more terrifying. Now, after the initial springs have been seized, the relationship between big countries has begun to become weird. The situation has become very delicate. Of course, Chen Mo is happy to see this situation. After all, there are his tentacles in every spring. The upper class of human beings gathered near the spring, and Jian Zhang was giving him a chance to manipulate. Opportunities are earned by themselves. Ali, please continue to work hard. Lu Ru smiled faintly. The words were very gentle. The relationship between the two is good, and it is rare to show a cute side. Ali's heart warmed, and the tears of emotion finally couldn't hold back and flowed out. 0. I hope the teacher will become more and more beautiful, and inspire spiritual power as soon as possible. As a student of the top scientist, Ali naturally knows the inside story. At the same time, I also feel very lucky. The teacher got the Tao, and she ascended to heaven with the chicken and dog. As the top talent, Lu Ru naturally didn't need to compete for any places. Even, every spring base is begging her to settle in. Because such a top scientist can bring a lot of resources to the base, as well as the attention from above, not to mention anything else, even the azimuth troops and various facilities have to be upgraded several levels. Psionics have the effect of stimulating part of the intellect. Therefore, every country tries to recruit powerful scientists and arrange them near the springs, hoping to make them more powerful. If one can become a psychic and also a scientist, then the study of psychic energy is simply a huge advantage. And energetic, flexible mind, more conducive to research. Lu Ru and Ali were chatting about the new laboratory when the cell phone rang. It was the person in charge of the Spring Eye base calling. Professor Lu, your laboratory has been approved, but on that end, it was a bit difficult. Just what? Lu Ru arrived lightly. It's just that your living area is it too big, especially this bathroom? Can you? The person in charge of the base at the other end looked at the design drawing, a little confused. The place Lu Ru requested, the laboratory and the living area, presents a circular shape, all of which are very close to the spring, not to mention, the problem is that the area of the living area is too big. Just one bathroom occupies someone else's quota. In such a big bathroom, does she want to put an extra 0.3 bathtub? The person in charge complained inwardly. But on the surface, they dare not speak directly. Since the superiors have agreed, but you have an opinion, if this is the case, then I will not come. Lu Ru said directly. Don't, Professor Lu, don't do this. On the other side, the person in charge immediately sweated on his forehead. Oh my God, he is indeed the person whom Shanghai City's principal called his aunt. He vowed never to raise objections again. As long as the superior agrees, he should meddle in his own business. Lu Ru hung up the phone, her face flushed slightly. She is not usually so arrogant, but this time, she is really embarrassed to change her words, so she can only be arrogant to the end. She was a little puzzled again. It was the first time for me to be so arrogant. It's also strange, did he have a brain twitch that night? How did he manage to create such a large area with a single hand? What am I doing with such a big bathroom, it's really... Lu Ru muttered. Then he took out the laboratory design drawings. Look carefully. I really drew it myself. I definitely didn't wake up. Lu Ru thought so in her heart, but she was in an inexplicably good mood. Wow. On the side, Ali opened her mouth wide in surprise. Is this the house that Professor Lu will live in soon? Look at the laboratory just separated by a wall, so close to the spring. She secretly made up her mind that she would stay in the laboratory every day and sleep there on the floor. If she doesn't become a psyker, she won't leave even if she is killed. Right, just study mushrooms. This mushroom is so strange, it's not too much for me to study it 24 hours a day, right? A temperate zone. Zongliao City. Chen Mo was not interested in chatting with the two girls. When he turned his field of vision, he was already in the forest near Zongliao City. In an area close to the edge of the city, a huge base is entering the final stage. In just 1.5 years, the exterior body has been fully constructed. This is the base where Lu Ru will be stationed at that time. There will also be many scientists gathered here. Most of them are members of the advisory group, which can have a huge influence on the decision-making level. And Chen Mo is actually the first resident of this huge base. And he was well cared for. It is simply a national treasure treatment. With a turn of sight, Chen Mo has reached the inside of the base, at the spring. Here, there are a large number of scientific researchers, who are doing careful research work. A large number of equipment are placed near the spring. Of course, these are active devices and not permanent in nature. Because, it is still reserved for psychers to use. Every spring is extremely busy. Many people take turns using it. Even a master like Lu Ru can't occupy the spring all day. Of course, it is said that the upper management has considered setting aside a separate spring, and will not do anything except scientific research. That spring is the one in front of you. Chen Mo is no longer nervous about this kind of behavior at this time, because he is on the spot to see, and if he finds anything, he will share it together, and if there is any abnormality, he can eliminate it. At the same time, Lu Ru also wrote a report touting this centralized research program. All major countries adopt this centralized research scheme. There are many benefits. First of all, scientists are together, which is good for communication. Second, save resources, save the hassle of moving around. And security issues are better resolved. Although not all scientists have been accommodated here yet, troops are already stationed here. Plus Lu is a model for psionic research. The laboratory she led naturally became the focus of all countries to emulate. Therefore, this method of conducting research around a spring has become popular all over the world. As for Chen Mo, it was cool. All the bigwigs in the scientific world are under his supervision. The situation is not right, there are too many places where he can use his hands and feet. Of course, as long as he didn't discover his existence, Chen Mo wouldn't do anything. It is left to human research. After all, he can steal a copy of all these technologies. For example, at this moment, a human researcher, using a large number of physical equipment, has detected the nature of some psionic energy. Of course, he is just guessing, and there is no definite evidence yet. But Chen Mo could see at a glance that his conclusion was correct based on his knowledge of psychic power. Information: you have carefully observed the research and exploration of intelligent creatures on psionic energy. From the perspectives of genes and physics, you have a new understanding of psionic energy in both micro and macro perspectives. You have a new understanding of psionic energy in the world. There is a new understanding of objects and their influence on each other, and spiritual knowledge +1. Hehe, these human scientists are not bad. Chen Mo smiled. He is not a scientist himself after all. Although there is already a lot of knowledge, especially in the field of genetics, it can be said that it is the best in the world, and even far exceeds the scope of human knowledge. But there are many ways of science. Chen Mo draws on regional thinking, has research results, can better examine himself, and at the same time receives new inspiration. There are 10 such large-scale research institutions in the world. Chen Mo takes turns to pay attention every day. See if there are new research results. If there is any, he will come and collect it. Even if he couldn't collect it at that time, he would try to get the information through Lu. However, with the fierce competition among major countries, it is believed that such scientific and technological exchanges will become less and less. This is a bad point for Chen Mo. After all, every country has to train a spokesperson, which is really troublesome. He is not yet powerful enough to directly manipulate the minds of intelligent creatures. A Lu is carefully cultivated and slowly develops into fruit. For other scientists, it is difficult to achieve this step. Every day, he has to switch to these 10 bases to inquire about intelligence, which also makes Chen Mo feel very painful. We must hurry up on the research and development of sensory organs. Chen Mo murmured. As the stall got bigger and bigger, there were more and more places he was paying attention to now. There are some places that cannot be taken care of. Thinking of this, Chen Mo's perspective retreated outside the base, and began to manipulate the expansion of mushrooms. Around this human spring base, he had to plant some mushrooms. How much can also absorb some spiritual energy. At the same time, in the dense temperate forest, his creeps spread in the central area. But not every area of the whole piece is sprawled. Chen Mo adopted a point-like diffusion method. The spore cannon fires into the air, then spreads the spores with the wind. In this way, it can spread for more than 10 kilometers at one time, and if you are lucky, it can spread to 50 or 60 kilometers. After the spores germinate and grow hyphae, a creepy blanket begins to spread, hiding in the ground. At the same time, the creeper provides a lot of nutrients, allowing the mushrooms on it to grow taller and launch spore cannons. Of course, the main function of creep is to hunt. With some creeps, Chen Mo doesn't have to wait for mycelium to grow on animals knocked down by the spore cannon. After all, it takes 380 minutes to grow once. With the creeper, it can immediately devour flesh and blood and obtain genetic samples. In a spore forest, there is a 500 square meter blanket of creep beneath it. Just about the range of the spore cannon. Such mushroom forests are very numerous and spread throughout the temperate zone. Boom! A mutated pangolin was hit by the spore cannon without any defense. Immediately, he fell to the ground trembling. Creep then begins to protrude hyphae. Immediately Chen Mo obtained the genetic map data of pangolin 600. In addition to the temperate jungle, Chen Mo's expansion in the Kangaroo continent has been more successful. Moreover, here is the main battlefield for obtaining genetic maps. Because these wild dogs would more or less shake off some of the spore powder on their bodies every time they hunted their prey and used it in situ. Therefore, every prey they hunted can also be used by Chen Mo. And the number of this hunting team is constantly expanding. Today the tradition of growing mushrooms on buttocks has spread among a large number of wild dogs. Just like chimpanzees like to use small wooden rollers to lure ants to eat, this custom can be inherited and learned by other wild dogs. More importantly, wild dogs are omnivorous species. As long as they are alive, they will eat. From grass roots to kangaroos to birds, as long as they can swallow their stomachs, they will not let them go. The hallucinogenic ingredients in mushrooms increase energy consumption even more. The frequency of their hunting has increased. Chen Mo can obtain 50 or 60 genetic profiles in just one day in the mainland of Kangaroo. Information: your carbon-based biological knowledge reserve has reached +1314, and your evolution clues, distributed neural network, research progress has reached 30%. Evolutionary clues, heart of the swarm, research progress has reached 5%. That's right, the research on neural networks is progressing very fast. I'm afraid it will be almost done when I get the fish farm done. Thinking of this, Chen Mo turned his attention to the fishing ground. At this time, there have attracted many lucky people, waiting for his choice. Among them, there was even an old acquaintance. Looking at the giant bird flying across the sea from a high altitude, Chen Mo smiled slightly. Speaking of which, this giant white bird still has some grudges with itself. The bird controlled by Chen Mo was killed last time. This time, I just came to grab food directly. Its speed is extremely fast, a low-altitude skimming, directly grabbed a sea monster, and then fell to the island in various ways. After the fall, it was still not reconciled, and still flapped its wings, and a strange air flow flew out of its wings. The air current hit the sea monster like an air blade, and the sea monster burst out with blood in an instant. After confirming that the sea monster on the ground was completely breathless, the giant bird landed and began to enjoy the food leisurely. It can be arrogant in the air, and even dare to compete with the ocean overlord for food. It is very cautious about landing. Hee, it seems that this bird understands the saying that a phoenix on the ground is not as good as a chicken, but it's useless to be careful. As soon as Chen Mo's voice fell, he manipulated the spore cannon. In an instant, dense bangs sounded. Killed by random cannons. The giant bird struggled to take off, but the neurotoxin soon invaded its nervous system. This directly causes it to lose control over itself. The huge strange bird with a wingspan of more than 10 meters just fell to the ground. Event: you have absorbed the flesh and blood of the mutated seagull, obtained 100% of the mutated seagull gene, you have extracted usable genes from it, your genetic structure has been optimized, your nutrient absorption ability has been enhanced, and the mycelium nutrient absorption speed plus 0.1, you get a new pore-like structure, which will improve the aerodynamic shape of the spore, adaptability plus 0.1. Information: you have obtained 100% genetic map of mutant seagulls. By analyzing the genes, your understanding of seagulls has deepened. Based on this research, your understanding of organic species branches and carbon-based organisms has also been deepened. Carbon-based biological knowledge plus 1, increase the efficiency of its various actions by 1%. Hee, this strange bird is really generous, please forgive me. Facing this windfall, Chen Mo happily accepted it. The giant bird offended him last time, which made him delay for a week before occupying the spring of Wai Island, but he did not expect to pay Chen Mo all at once. This is a blessing in disguise. How can you know that it is not a blessing? From the giant bird, Chen Mo not only got 5 evolution points, but also got a new structure, which can be used to improve the structure of the spore. Fly farther while carrying the same initial nutrients. Every spore is like a base, carrying all the technologies of Chen Mo. As long as there is a suitable opportunity, a spore can grow and grow into a mushroom forest that dominates one side. Therefore, every bit of progress made by spore makes Chen Mo very happy. Without the interference of the giant white bird, there was another fierce fight near the spring. The fighting didn't stop for a moment. Chen Mo observed the players participating in the play. Among them are 10 strange fish, which have mutated so badly that Chen Mo can't even tell what species they belong to according to their appearance. There is also a giant sea turtle. This turtle is very powerful. The main reason is that the shell is very hard, and it looks ordinary. The fangs in the mouth of the strange fish were all broken when it took a bite. Rough skin and thick flesh are the characteristics of this turtle. However, its attack ability is a bit weak, and its actions are also very clumsy. There are also a few crustacean marine creatures. The most outstanding one is a crab, which is not big, only 7 or 8 meters in size, but it is covered in armor and with huge mutated pincers. It kills all directions here. It eats a lot of flesh and blood. Give it a few more days and it should get stronger. Which one should I choose? Chen Mo said to himself. Or are you waiting? What are you thinking, big man? A consciousness asked at base camp. Is the queen. Only she has such keen observation skills. In the base camp, Chen Mo's main consciousness is located here, and the fluctuations are already very strong. He generally doesn't change his position, and the little guys around him are also used to this kind of consciousness fluctuation. Among them, the queen's perception is the most keen. She also likes to imitate Chen Mo's behavior most. For example, it makes all kinds of strange mushrooms, and it tries to grow ants in the field. I'm picking a lucky guy. Chen Mo didn't shy away from anything, and said directly. A lucky guy like me. The queen was instantly envious. It is definitely a great thing to be favored by the creator. Around, a few little guys also gathered around. Chen Mo's consciousness is strong enough to act as a bridge, able to transmit thoughts between several different species, enabling them to communicate across species. Big man, can we have a look? Miss Heisei asked curiously. That lucky one should be pretty, at least not worse than it. The little fox didn't know how to hide his thoughts, but Chen Mo sensed them without hindrance. Immediately amused by the thought. So he described the appearance of those sea monsters by the ocean. They don't sound like much. Miss Heisei shook her flame-like tail and let out a few chirps. Today, the little guy can express more and more consciousness. Even, already have their own aesthetic concept. Of course, this is all influenced by Chen Mo. What's more, I learned from Chen Mo completely, so if a few guys have any strange worldview, Chen Mo will feel that it is inseparable from him. In fact, there is a kind of sinister beauty, but it is a pity that it is too far away to let you see it. Quote. Chen Mo exudes awareness. He is not yet able to share consciousness, or else, can share it with these interesting neighbors. Especially the queen, she has an unusual desire to understand the outside world. The fierce beauty. Miss Heisei tilted her head, not knowing how to understand. That's it. The chief tapped the stake with his toe. Immediately, roar rushed out, the mouth opened more than twice the size of the body, and the mouth was full of fangs, looking very ferocious. Looks like a hegemony. Ha ha ha. Chen Mo laughed. The chief's understanding is in place. Miss Heisei and Chariot squinted their eyes and leaned over to carefully observe the little pet of the chief. The queen showed one eye, and looked out of the nest curiously. Would love to see what the chief says about beauty, got Zhao. But she cannot be seen from this position, she lives underground, the lowest position. She would love to go out and see, but not now. She is so ugly. The creator Chen Mo taught her aesthetics and gave her a set of world views. However, what he didn't know was that this had also become a shackle for the queen. However, it is also one of the queen's strongest sources of motivation. I can evolve, like a big man, he said, when the time comes, tell me to teach the way of transformation, I will become very beautiful, just like a real queen. Thinking of this, the queen instinctively felt the breath of the big man again, and she wanted to ask when she would be able to become a queen. However, at this time the other party's thoughts have calmed down. In some incomprehensible way, the big man grew up in a distant place. The queen had to wait quietly, waiting for the next opportunity. At this time, there is a new situation on the distant Hawaiian island. Chen Mo's spirit was shaken, a new player came. This new player, in appearance, is definitely a model of evil spirits. A huge killer whale, a mouthful of fangs, like a hacksaw. The whole body is mutated, and the huge and incomparable bones are turned outward, forming a plate bone. This is the armored car wandering in the ocean. Chen Mo detected this huge heat source from the lighthouse mushroom far away. At first he thought it was a blue whale or something, after all, it was so huge. But after the triangular dorsal fin erected, Chen Mo knew that things were not easy. It's not a shark, it's an orca. Continue to approach, the dorsal fin can be seen more clearly, let Chen Mo confirm. This is an orca. Orcas, also known as killer whales, are named for the halberd-like weapons on their backs. The absolute king of the sea. In the diet of killer whales, there are sharks. It is like a tiger in the sea, an invincible king. Even more fun. Tigers are also wary of wolves, and killer whales are pack animals. They have the same abilities as tigers, but adopt the same lifestyle as wolves. In the ocean, no animal is their opponent. Killer whales belong to the dolphin family. They are very intelligent and have a very high degree of intelligence. They can also communicate with each other through sound, and their socialization level is higher than that of monkeys. Sure enough, Chen Mo just thought so. Another huge heat source around him came into his field of vision one after another. The killer whale presented a semicircle, directly blocking the escape path of those sea monsters. The scarlet sea water is full of the thrill of killing. However, the killer whale that led into it was not disturbed too much. He temporarily restrained the urge to kill. 113 is not like other sea monsters, who immediately became beastly, rushed up in a hurry, and killed a lot. This alone makes Chen Mo look at him with admiration. What made him even more delighted was that controlling a sea monster in the middle of the ocean would be better than controlling a group of sea monsters. His goal is to let this group of killer whales serve him. The leader killer whale is the most mutated, but also the largest, with a body size of more than 100 meters. At least hundreds of tons in weight. Not long after, the killer whales started hunting through voice communication. Hearing the scream of the killer whale, this unique sound directly caused the entire spring to be in a mess. All the sea monsters panicked. This is the fear engraved in the bones. There are even some sea monsters who have seen the killing of killer whales with their own eyes, and are so frightened that they immediately crawled towards the island. But these are in vain. Boom! It's like a battleship crashing over. The killer whale rushed from the bottom of the sea suddenly. Within a few minutes, the sea monster was basically eaten up. Yi Fei was amazed. The killing efficiency of these killer whales is unusually high. Wait for the other person to eat and drink enough. Chen Mo exudes a sense of friendliness. Hello. Who? The killer whale leader made a sound of panic. The leader orca had never encountered such a situation before, and a voice sounded directly in its head. But it is strong, and it has confidence in itself, and ran away without turning around. Instead, send out thoughts. I want to make an exchange with you. Chen Mo cut to the chase. His consciousness is strong enough for the killer whale to understand. Besides, among killer whales, there are also cases of giving gifts. They are understood for this purpose. Every 3 days, you can come here and have food. As for the price, Chen Mo has hyphae rising, revealing the carcass of an octopus. Are you the island? Killer whales are very curious, and every one of them came together. I'm bigger than that, maybe you can call me the world. Chen Mo's voice was calm. World, you must be very powerful, I feel like this ocean. The killer whale leader said. It doesn't know what the world means right now. However, this still does not prevent him from having a strange intuition, the consciousness of the other party, which made him involuntarily think of the rough sea. Dealing with animals, as long as the other party is willing to communicate, is surprisingly smooth. After all, animals don't have the twisted ideas of humans, and they don't know how to weigh gains and losses. Intuitively, they usually say yes. Besides, Chen Mo secretly added a lot of condiments to the food just now. Will there still be that strange delicacy? The killer whale leader is looking forward to it. There will be many. Chen Mo exudes a sense of goodwill. With his powerful consciousness, he can also try to slightly influence these animals, gaining goodwill with ease. Slowly, it is not a problem to let him obey his orders. Of course Chen Mo understood the reason why they thought it was delicious, it was because the flesh and blood were contaminated with the spring's spiritual energy. Although you can't taste the difference, your body will instinctively tell you that this is good. And there are not many such good things. I believe that even at the bottom of the sea, fierce competition is required. Coupled with the delicious taste of hallucinogens, it is even more unique. No other branch. What's more, with him, he can directly get this delicious food for free. This is another kind of strange symbiosis. Chen Mo provided food that made them stronger, and the killer whale group followed Chen Mo's request to find the prey he needed. The killer whale agreed to this cooperation without hesitation. Looking at the group of orcas leaving, Chen Mo thought he would have to wait for a long time. The result was beyond his expectation. It didn't take long, and the recovery time was less than half an hour. A lot of octopuses were piled on the beach. It's still the one he showed. None of the other species. Chen Mo didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This group of orcas were too naive. Straighter than a chariot. World, do you want more? The leader of the killer whale made a sound. Killer whales have plenty of food sources, and when they are not eating, they are playing. Therefore, there is a lot of time for Chen Mo to look for prey. Even the little killer whales in the group regarded this as an interesting game. Anything with tentacles is fine, but you can find some with different colors. Understood. The killer whale leader nodded confidently, and left with a large family. After half a day, a row of octopuses of 7 colors are neatly placed on the beach. Chen Mo was slightly taken aback. I have to be convinced. Professional is different. When people move around in the ocean, they are just like Miss High-Sea catching rabbits. What kind of octopus is there, they know very well. Even human beings cannot be as efficient as them. It seems that convincing this group of killer whales is a very correct choice. Chen Mo controlled the hyphae to spread out and began to devour the flesh. Information. You have conducted investigations and research on the large categories of octopus groups. Your understanding of mutant creatures has deepened. Your understanding of genetic changes caused by psionic energy has deepened, and your knowledge of psionic functions and organic species has increased. Yes, psionic knowledge +1, carbon-based creatures +1. Information. The investigation and research of the octopus population has made great progress. Your research on evolutionary clues, distributed neural network, has made new progress. The current research progress is 50%. At the same time, you notice that the distributed neural network is still in progress. There is a huge room for upgrade and adjustment, which depends on the further collection of more data. Can this research continue to be improved? Chen Mo carefully checked the obtained research materials, and sure enough, he could evolve a more advanced brain through continuous research. If the neural knowledge collected now is enough, then, from now on, every time he collects more points, when he finally studies this evolutionary clue, the results will be better. Every time you come here, you can bring these things here, preferably if you haven't seen them before. If not, strange and powerful strange fish are also fine. I'll give you more delicious mushrooms that taste just like those fish. By the way, there are other killer whales, you can also call for help. Quote. Chen Mo said with a cheeky face that he didn't have the slightest sense of taking advantage. After all, seriously speaking, this mushroom was carefully prepared by him. It took a lot of effort. A few days later, the killer whale group completed a second transaction with Chen Mo. Chen Mo is very generous, not only giving away most of the sea monsters raised in the fishery these days, but also providing tons of Jingyu mushrooms. Since then, the killer whales have enjoyed this pattern. And believe it, they think that Chen Mo is the huge island itself, which cannot move, but will grow a lot of delicious fish through strange methods. They eat the fish and then offer more of the rest so they can eat more of this delicacy next time. After going back and forth, Chen Mo not only collected a large amount of nerve distribution data, but also obtained a large amount of carbon-based biological knowledge. Because killer whales are so powerful, there are no samples in the ocean that they cannot collect. And they're not picky eaters either. What's more, under Chen Mo's teaching, they have mastered how to hunt powerful prey. Now, they are carrying out a large number of hunting activities, and they are targeting powerful mutant creatures. Looking at the killer whale who skillfully pushed the carcass of the great white shark onto the island, Chen Mo was very satisfied. He is already very experienced in teaching animals. After all, he has been in contact with animals from all over the world. In fact, their way of thinking is similar. Simple and direct, no lies. In most cases, benefits are given directly and communicated patiently. We'll be able to gain trust. And once this trust relationship is established, it will never be questioned again. Up to now, the group of killer whales serving Chen Mo has grown to 3, and the number is still increasing, although the food Chen Mo can provide is limited. But these killer whales are happy to communicate with Chen Mo. They start to worship the world. Especially those little killer whales. They grow very fast, and with the support of mutation, their intelligence is higher than that of their elders. They grew up under Chen Mo's care. Many of Chen Mo's views on the ocean are imprinted in their minds. In their thinking, the world is a very intelligent behemoth. A legend about the world slowly spread among the killer whale community. Slowly, it expands to the entire underwater world. We all know many powerful killer whales. If you follow the warm ocean currents and go all the way, you can find a strange creature called the world at the end of a series of islands in the middle of the ocean. He can communicate with all things and provide the evolutionary flesh and blood needed. In addition, it can also provide a delicious mushroom that warms the blood and excites the nerves. An island with life. An ugly animal trainer was shocked, looking at the killer whale in front of him with an expression of disbelief. His innate ability is the ability to communicate with other animals. At present, this ability is still very weak, but he found a new way, found several very intelligent animals, and established communication with them. This behavior made him famous throughout the ugly country. Genius Psyker, Your Excellency the Beastmaster. That's his name. Today, he accepts the entrustment of scientists to communicate with one of his partners. The conclusions drawn are very outrageous. The reason why his partner is so powerful is because of a strange island. Ask it where that island is. The scientist stared. I think it might be a huge creature living on an island. The trainer thought so too. He asked patiently. No, he is not an animal like us, he is very strange, he has no body in the world, and he can talk to task things, he can also grow some delicious things out of thin air. World, wait, you said this strange creature, called the world. He said so, he called himself the world, and it's no wonder he's wiser than we are. The killer whale showed dissatisfaction. World. The animal trainer's heart speeded up suddenly, he just felt that this world is really crazy. An intangible substance called the world. Could it be that it is the will of the world? Gaia. His mind was muddled, and he repeatedly asked the killer whale for confirmation, and tried to understand it from more directions. So, he didn't bother to answer the inquiries of the scientists on the side. Too crazy. Absolutely the greatest find ever. The animal trainer was hesitant to tell the scientists about such things. A vague sense of fate made him hesitate. He only thought that this would be an adventure for him. Especially when the other party was able to make the killer whales so powerful, it wasn't just one nearby, but a whole group. What's more, according to his partner, not only them, but also in the entire killer whale community, there are legends of world. Of course, what the trainer didn't know was that the killer whale he communicated with was not from the group at the beginning. Although it had received Chen Mo's favor, it had never communicated with Chen Mo. He also just listened to other killer whales. This is the earliest legend and myth among the killer whale tribe. The more it spreads, the more outrageous it becomes. After reaching the mouth of the animal trainer, it has become very miraculous. 0.00. Well, any major discoveries? Looking at the blushing animal trainer, the scientist asked again. There are some discoveries. They say that in the deep sea, there are some powerful species, whales as huge as islands. The animal trainer replied calmly. Unbelievable, such a powerful mutant creature. Obviously our guess is right, there are springs in the deep sea. The scientist's face was extremely serious. More than a dozen scientists gathered together to discuss. None of them noticed that the animal trainer was communicating with the killer whale again, and got a clue that made his eyes shine. End the research expedition. He returned to Daochenian base. Captain, didn't you say that there is a mission to go to the river crab country? The captain glanced at him. What, Bruce, have you changed your mind? I just studied with the scientists, and I found that as ordinary people, they all work so hard. Maybe I should also do my part for the sake of human beings in this country. Blue said firmly. Let me also join the infiltration operation. The mission of the operation has been changed. The river crab country has completely cut off technical exchanges with us. We urgently need the latest psionic technology and some unique equipment. Therefore, the mission has been changed to kidnapping, plundering, and murder. It is very dangerous to carry out together. The captain looked at Bruce, who was very useful, and he actually didn't want to send someone to carry out this kind of assignment. Bruce gritted his teeth and said, "It's okay, I'll join Sichuan." Above the vast sea, several large planes sail above the clouds. At an altitude close to 20,000 meters, the oxygen is thin and the temperature is below zero. Almost no mutant beast would like to come to such a high place. Here you can avoid the harassment of most mutant beasts. Sporadic one or two can also rely on speed to escape. Bruce, I really didn't expect that you would also participate in this operation. This time we're going to have a big fight. Yeah, I've seen those yellow-skinned monkeys upset a long time ago. This time, they happened to overthrow them one after another. This world is always ours, and our psychers are stronger. I heard that the mission location is near a big city. Jack, your blood desire can be well released. It's just that you can't do anything to Professor Lu Ru. Quote. Jack leaned against a corner of the cabin with his eyes closed, without opening his eyes, and said lightly, "Don't worry, I will follow the orders from above. The most, 210, is to play for a while, and you won't die. Not allowed. If you touch a single hair of her, you will die miserably. I will wring your neck without hesitation." The captain's face turned cold. He grabbed Jack and lifted him up. "Understood, boss, you are stronger, you have the final say." Jack smiled disdainfully. Why the captain likes to be the leader dog so much, he doesn't understand. If it weren't for the spring, he wouldn't listen to those shit. Bruce looked at all this with a smile on his face, and he didn't say much. Didn't want to get involved. These people just want to gain more power, or ridiculous patriotism, or even shameless venting. But he is different. He has more important goals. More noble and holy. Awareness of the world, or some kind of powerful being that can communicate. Not 10,000 times better than your stupid killings. Secretly complaining a few words of disdain, Bruce also leaned against the corner of the cabin, closing his eyes and recuperating. He has one of the most important secrets in the world, and he is going to explore it. He feels that there is already a gap between him and these people. He is completely uninterested in these low-level interests. That is, the beautiful and wise Professor Lu Ru, who can interest him a little bit. But compared to the world's secrets, he felt that it was better not to meddle in other people's business. The best way is to make soy sauce to prevent injury, and then go to that island in the best condition. Another pod of killer whales arrives. Far away, they float on the sea surface, causing splashes. To wake up that incredible existence. Chen Mo looked over. Immediately surprised. This time, the killer whales brought larger prey and were more powerful. There are even collections of mutated great white sharks. Information. Your understanding of mutant sharks has deepened. You have obtained a new model of nerve cell construction from it. You have discovered the knowledge of the evolution of the smell organ, and your knowledge of psychic functions and organic species has increased. Psionic knowledge +1, carbon-based creatures +1. Information. Your understanding of mutant dolphins has deepened, and you have obtained a brand new nerve cell construction model from it, and you have discovered the evolutionary knowledge of the sonar organ, and your ability to perceive the surrounding environment has been greatly enhanced. Your knowledge of psionic effects and organic species is increased, +0.1 to fitness, +1 to psionic knowledge, +1 to carbon-based organisms. Various strange sensory organs, such as sonar detection, more advanced infrared vision, unusually keen sense of smell, and hearing that can detect poisonous motion, have also been collected. Chen Mo's current knowledge is already very rich, and some researches have directly met the conditions. After obtaining samples, he can immediately evolve a structure that matches his own. It's only the last step. Chen Mo glanced at the attribute panel, and the research progress of evolution clue, distributed neural network, has reached 99%. It is actually only one step away from completion. This step is just a little bit of carbon-based biological knowledge. It's only 10 o'clock, and Chen Mo has collected massive amounts of neurogenetic data. Therefore, he had a hunch that the effect of this research would be beyond imagination. Collect genetic profiles now. Chen Mo decided not to wait for the animals to fall into the trap by himself, he did it himself. Turning his sight, he came to the temperate jungle. Okay, humanity. As soon as he came here, Chen Mo missed the traces of human beings. Dozens of helicopters are landing. Hundreds of people came down from above. Interesting. Chen Mo switches perspectives and comes to the closer mushroom. All are psychics. There are more than 20 white skins among them. Chen Mo estimated that the yellow-skinned people should be from the nearby Banksy country, and the white-skinned people should be from the ugly country. As for what to do here, it goes without saying. The valuable target here is the spring base that has just been built. The defense facilities of the base have not all been completed, and there are still many workers coming in and out. Just right for the invasion. Chen Mo observed the group of people while capturing animals. Brew. The captain winked. Point 0. Bruce immediately used his ability to communicate with the surrounding animals. Captain, no one has come in here for a long time, they will only be active at the edge of the forest at most. Blue said so, and released the pigeon on his shoulder. It didn't take long for everyone to know where they were, and through the pigeons, they learned about the deployment of the base. What is this? One of the team members stepped on it heavily, revealing the creep below. Curiously, he took out his knife, ready to poke it. Don't worry about it, hurry up, our goal this time is not a scientific investigation. The captain turned back and urged. The team member quickly put away the knife and followed the team. Hundreds of people are psychers, and their speed is extremely fast. But soon they ran into trouble. The mutated monsters here are not easy to mess with. Soon, a chameleon suddenly appeared on the trunk. Boom, the protruding tongue snapped. The soldier who was squatting aside and preparing to install the broken mine was caught off guard and shot his eyes out with his tongue, which entered his brain. Boom, everyone reacted very quickly, and chopped the chameleon into pieces in an instant. Hurry up and go. They didn't care about the bodies of the team members, and took action as soon as possible. Under the ground, mycelia spread up. The last gene, here it is. Event: you absorbed the flesh and blood of the chameleon, obtained 100% of the chameleon gene, you extracted the usable gene from it, your gene structure has been optimized, your cell strength has been enhanced, mycelium nutrient absorption speed plus 0.1. Evolution clues: distributed neural networks. Based on the knowledge reserve 5.5 of carbon-based organisms plus 2000, by analyzing genes, you have discovered a brand new neural arrangement structure. The SMART platform based on this architecture can support more complex sensory organs and cover existing ones. Rough nervous system can improve adaptability plus 1, risk plus 0.5, and greatly increase the degree of automation. Evolve now, Chen Mo said excitedly. This is an important step. A neural network of unprecedented size and size. At this point, Chen Mo's mushrooms have spread to 9% of the planet's surface area. And his consciousness will be connected to the neural network occupying such a huge territory. The moment the order was issued, countless mushrooms vibrated slightly and began to quickly extract the nutrients prepared in the creep. A huge network is being formed. At the same time, Chen Mo turned his eyes and came to the spring base. At this moment, Lu Ruzhang was sitting cross-legged in the spring, frowning tightly. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe my channel.